Okay, that's complicated. I saw that before. That happened. Production.
Hey, sweetie.
Yo. Hear me?
What are you doing in here? Just checking out the bot, seeing if it works?
Kinda, yeah.
Huh.
I'm
No
also
particular
streaming to
target?
Twitch, so
Oh, like this?
yeah.
Oh, so I'm on Twitch now?
Yes.
Hello,
I
Twitch.
have like a single viewer at the moment.
Oh, I guess I gotta not say the N-word then, if it's on Twitch.
Yeah, please don't.
Or call the moderators of Twitch simps or anything like that.
Can't even say the word.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's fucking hilarious. Luckily, I have no plan of ever making a Twitch.
I made a Twitch for several reasons.
Huh. What's your single viewer saying?
Nothing. Yeah.
I imagine in reality you mean that he is saying the word nothing.
It can happen.
That's what I would do.
Oh, fuck.
It's called, we do a bit of trolling. Alright, let's copy that in here and see. What?
No. Hell no.
What?
Don't you dare play WAP. I'm trying to play copyright.
What?
Less. Yeah, don't dare play it. I'm trying to play copyright less music.
Wait, what? Like wet ass pussy?
Right.
No, I'm not playing anything. I copied the link to your Twitch and put it in the browser so I could see. Wait, send message. Can I do that without an account? Or will it just tell me to get an account? Yeah, fuck off. That's annoying.
Not really. It's kind of necessary, mostly because of moderation side of things.
Well, yeah, I know they need you to have an account to send a message, but why not just gray out the box so that I know that I can't send a message? I mean, I know why.
It's
It's
a way to
because...
tempt you.
Yeah, I know.
Should I add a toggle for removing a post when all its reactions are cleared? Like, this is for Starboard. Do you know? I'm pretty sure you know what Starboard is.
Oh yeah, right? You add star emojis, and when it hits a threshold, it's put into a pinnings channel.
So should I make it so that you can toggle whether removing all its reactions also the post? Can I add that as a toggle?
Be useful. Or maybe also one for removing it if it falls below the threshold.
What of that?
Probably with a margin though, so you don't have one dude like clicking and unclicking and clicking and unclicking.
I mean, that won't really matter, mostly because I have my own way of handling limits.
Sure. Alright, well if you have that, then...
there will also be a way to log reactions. Which can be a pain.
Huh. Oh yeah, reactions. I logged that in a JSON file since forever ago. Never used it. Back when my bot was supposed to log shit and make analytics. That was the original plan. Got sidetracked doing other shit to learn, and then now it's just a shitpost bot. And I don't regret it.
What should I call this column? For removing the threshold. I guess literally just remove on below threshold.
Yeah, that could work actually.
I hope I spelled that right. said that, then true. Because most people expect you to do that.
Yeah. Managing user expectations is a pain. I mean, it's gotta be done though.
Yeah, I know.
Like a program that doesn't give a shit about what your expectations are, just does whatever they wanted it to do. It'll be really hard to use. But it still doesn't make it any less of a pain to try to predict what people in general would expect to happen where. And also what would be a safe assumption. You don't want to accidentally have an unsafe assumption and then leave an opening so someone could just inject shit. Something like that. Making small steps in that AI thing.
That's good.
Not in C# yet though. There's too much shit I need to think out first before I can even start with a model. Like if you don't have the right model, then you're gonna fuck yourself. And if you don't have the right data format for the model, then it's not gonna do shit. So I gotta figure that shit out.
Trying to go for maximum.
I mean, it's a JSON or something, isn't it? So you could just add stuff later, right?
No, this is for the database.
Ah.
I would have to restart the entire bot to add more stuff.
Oh.
Public bot, remember?
Yeah. You see, this is one of the benefits of just using it. Just using JSON for everything.
JSON isn't practical, that's the thing.
Oh, it's extremely practical, is the thing.
No, it's not. In the long run, it's not practical in the slightest.
It's not efficient, it's just practical.
It's not practical. If you have thousands of lines of JSON in there, it's gonna take you ages to load it. Versus the database, you could have hundreds of thousands of entries, and it'll take 2 seconds to load it.
Yeah, it's because it uses B-trees. But that's why, because B-trees, it's a data structure. It's like binary trees, but with more of them together, because, you know, you want to load one data chunk at a time, you know? And then you want to find where's the next data chunk. Because, you know, when you load a file, you load a chunk of like 512 bits or more at a time. So you put in shit in there for like, next one is there, and this one is between this and that, and this one's between that and that. You know, so that you could just find, okay, the value I'm looking for is 113. Here is 114, 110, here's 114. So it's between that, go to that chunk, you know. Like, you know, binary trees, right? Yeah, where it goes left and right. It's like that, except it has a bunch of values, and then like, in between a pointer down to like the next node. Because you want to load them, you want to use the whole chunk at a time. That's how B-trees work. And then it's all sorted. That's the short of it.
Hey, I got 2 viewers.
But what you do instead, right, at least for me, everything is sorted by IDs, right? Like you want the ID of this, you want the user by its ID. So it's a file by the ID with the user's info as a JSON. So it's not a one giant file, it's a fuckload of small files, well, medium files. Can't make it a bitch to copy over to somewhere else though, because little files take a lot longer than one big. Hey, other guys watching this, so you hear me? Can you hear us? You alive?
Probably is, but it's probably too tired to...
Alright. I'll give Twitch credit for one thing though. They did ban like 2 people for saying the C word, you know, the N word for white people. So at least consistent with that. Wouldn't have thought they would do that.
Yeah, they are mysterious to say the least.
Yeah, sometimes they're consistent and actually do it proper, and sometimes they just selectively enforce.
Right.
It was pretty funny watching that guy mauled over it though. It's the 20th. Damn, not long until 1st of April. I gotta get around to fixing those last things so I can update the bot. Oh, I'm the only viewer. Yes, I think so. I'm counting, right?
Oh, that other person left.
Or other person. Time for those 2 of morning. Time to wake up.
Bitch. Also, I have concurrent dictionaries all around.
Huh.
Is there an alternative to using this?
To using concurrent dictionaries?
Yeah.
Using regular dictionaries and handling your own concurrency?
Yeah, no, I'm not that advanced.
Ironic. I'm too simple for concurrent ones, so I just used regular ones and just did a bunch of fucking synchronizations and semaphores. Now I've gotten a decent bit of hang of that. Well, it depends on what you're doing with them, right? Like,
literally just storing settings.
Storing settings by guild ID?
Yeah.
Then a dictionary would be the ideal one. If you want to search by a key, then you want a dictionary. If you just want to store a bag of shit, there's like bag or list or something like that. But if you want it findable by a key, then you want that.
Hold on. Does concurrent dictionary use more resources by chance?
I think it uses a tiny bit more resources than regular dictionaries to handle concurrency without having you lock all your shit all the time.
I have a feeling that's what's causing my memory issues. I use concurrent dictionaries everywhere.
I don't know if the memory difference between a regular and concurrent dictionary is that big. What was the concurrent dictionaries doing again? Like add or update and shit like that, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you send that in and it'll try to add, or if it exists, update and handle that shit concurrently. Yeah, so I don't think it uses much more memory stuff though.
Yep.
Like it'll probably have like a syncing object or two, or semaphore, and those aren't big. They're just to synchronize shit. So like one of them goes to that and it locks that, and the next one goes there and it stops and waits. And then it still uses the same dictionary structure. Which can be anything from a hash table to a binary tree. Fancy stuff, really.
Should I be making these currently?
What are they?
The concurrent dictionaries.
If you make them read only, make sure to give them a value.
Well,
So they're not nothing. Yeah.
Does read only less memory? Like,
No.
I'm legit just trying to save them.
Oh, you're doing like scraping the barrel for a little memory optimizing.
No, it's not even that. I need a lot of memory optimized.
Yeah, but even if read only had a difference in memory speed, it would.
Gigs.
Damn.
I have no idea why.
You did check that it's not that your fix on the snipe command isn't working as well as expected?
No, it's not even that, because that would affect Redis and not the bot itself.
Huh. Wait, but you did a thing to snipe and it affected the bot?
No, it actually didn't change it at all.
Oh, so it's just a coincidence.
Yeah. I don't like
Oh.
that.
Huh.
Ah, shit.
Huh. I mean, we could, instead of looking at like replacing concurrent dictionary with dictionary and making it read-only, which isn't much of an optimizing, we could look at like the whole thing. What do these dictionaries do? What are they for? Like each of them.
Each one just stores settings, literally.
Huh. Yeah, I was more thinking in terms of like, is there any of these settings that could be merged? Like a bunch of things per user could be merged into one dictionary with things.
This is per guild.
Yeah, but like, yeah, this is like this shit for one guild, right?
Yeah.
Do you have multiple things that store, like dictionaries that store per user or per channel or something?
No, not really. Only thing I have that stores all the guild configs is the immutable array here. That automatically stores everything at the start.
No, not all guild configs, but in the guild config itself, right? You got a bunch of dictionaries in there, right? For different stuff. Right below. Oh.
No.
Oh. Wait, so what are all the... Wait, go back then to what you were typing inside of it a moment ago. Yeah, what are all these dictionaries right below there? Private, concurrent dictionary, star count and shit like that?
To a dictionary. It turns
Yeah, I know.
guild configs to a dictionary and then turns them to concurrent.
It was like right there, private, concurrent dictionary, star count, reset threshold dictionary. What are they stored by?
These are cached here.
So the keys and all these are the guild ID, or?
Yes. The key is the guild ID, and this is the value.
Huh. Oh, so it's just a shortcut thing you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I would just not do that.
That thing is, it's easier to update it and cache it, and have it per service, rather than continuously hammering this one point.
I mean, if it's a class, then it's a reference type, right? So you just take a reference and edit that, and boom, done.
Yeah, but it's easier to read doing this.
Oh, what I'd recommend
What
I'd recommend instead, right, is instead of making cached dictionaries for every single like setting in the guild config, or like every main one, what you could do is you take a function that takes in the guild ID, then goes and gets that object and then returns the value for you. Right? Then you use the function. And then you can just have one dictionary. Because then you avoid having lots of copies of shit everywhere.
Oh, no. This is like once per service.
And a service is... You mean like shards and shit, or?
No. Like per module services.
Oh. They all have a copy of the guild config?
No. Ugh. When the bot starts, it makes an immutable array with all current guild configs.
Okay.
At the same time, have the modules, for example starboard, and the module services, starboard service. On start, they populate each of the concurrent dictionaries with their respective settings from this main point. That way you don't don't hammer this one main point everywhere, and it makes the code more readable. What did I just do?
Yeah, so it's essentially what it would be equivalent to is using the guild ID, finding the guild config object, and extracting that property, right?
Yeah.
So.
But it would be much better rather than hammering one single point.
For the user, yeah, but you can hide that by making a function. Instead of them indexing a dictionary, right? They can call a function to ask for the value, and the function will hammer that single point for the user without them knowing, right?
That would mean a refactor of a lot of stuff.
Well, would mean that instead of indexing a dictionary for every single each of these things, you'll have to convert it into calling a function for it. But it would save you a lot of data because you wouldn't have to have dictionaries for every single thing. Dictionaries do cost quite a bit.
So it's most likely the dictionaries that are actually killing me.
In terms of this whole like guild config thing, yes, by far. Remember that it's like depending on the implementation, but let's go with a binary tree, right? It would have to have the key, the value, and it would have a left and right pointer for every single node. And you'd have one node in each tree for every guild.
Oops. What the hell?
And one tree for each setting, right? And all of those settings are stored already in this in the guild configs in the mutable array thing, right? So what I'd do is I'd make one dictionary tying the guild IDs to the guild configs. Then I'd make functions that do basically what your dictionaries do, but on demand.
So what you're saying is I'm gonna have to refactor all this.
Yes, if you want to do what I'm suggesting. And I recommend that because.
Refactor time then.
Yeah, because then, right, in the future, if you change the implementation, you just rewrite the inside of the function.
But here's the thing. I would have to make this a main dictionary.
I
would have to make this a key value dictionary because this has all the guild configs. So
yeah.
what I could do is have a ulong key and a guild config value.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Make one dictionary for the guild configs by ID. Because then you have the overhead of the dictionary, like the whole dictionary thing once.
Right.
Instead of having it for every single instance.
Oh,
and
right.
you don't have the redundancy.
Oh dear. Okay, so here's the issue. On start, it has to cache all these.
Yeah.
So it has to for each every single guild and get each and every guild config.
Yeah.
That'll take ages to even start, wouldn't it?
Don't you have to do that anyways? To then make caches of every single property in each guild?
Not quite. So here's how it works. On start, it gets every single object from database, every single guild config from database, and pushes it into the immutable array. That way it's quick and easy, versus having to for each every single active guild.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that it makes sure that all guild configs are active. That way, if a bot joins the server and the guild config already exists, it can reference an existing guild config.
Well, you could just load everything into an immutable whatever and then just take that into a dictionary, like you're probably doing already for every single dictionary.
Although wait, I actually just had an idea.
Like you do load all the data in, right? And then you put them in and make dictionaries out of them for each property.
Hold on. I just had an idea. What if, on server join, if there is a guild config I load it into, dictionary, and as soon
Yeah.
as it leaves, I unload it.
That could
would
work
be
too.
very memory safe. Okay, I'll be back to continue the rest.
Alright. I'm gonna take a piss too. Hey Dad, I'm back. Getting up my resources now. It's probably the hard drive getting violated, I guess would be a way to put it for Twitch. Yep. But what is doing the violation? I've asked again. Just get rid of you. There we go. I think I need a proper energy boost. Toss one of these bad boys in there. I haven't done this in a while.
What?
Nothing.
It's a guild.
Oh, nasty
By
shit.
the way,
I've just taken coffee.
Yeah.
In the most painful way.
So one thing that I noticed, I don't know if it's because of guilds going unavailable, but sometimes there would be times when sending the leave event, the guild names just didn't exist and it was just a guild ID. And
It's probably unavailability, yeah. When it's not certain that the thing is available, they usually have like an optional object or whatnot that has the ID and alternatively the rest or socket thingy, if available.
but how do I get if it's available? That's the thing.
What object is that?
It's a socket guild here.
Show it to me. I need to see like the actual type. The thing if it's like
It's
optional.
a socket guild.
Oh, it's not even an optional. Oh, well, check if it's null.
No, it's not even null. Like, here's the thing. It shows that it's leaving. It shows that it's left the server. But there's only the ID in brackets, and the server count does not go down. That's the thing, and kind of weird.
Well, I'm confused about that.
So I'm just gonna. And that should automatically unload it as soon as it leaves build.
Yeah. Remember, you need a dictionary thingy. Like, you might as well turn the immutable list thing you store into like a dictionary instead, and use the values to
I already did.
Okay, nice. Didn't see if you did that or not
so
yet.
What would be the fastest way to store all guild configs? Oh, I know. Hold on. C
You know, like you grab all the ones you want at start, and then you put them into a dictionary. That's what I recommend.
Yeah, but I need to
convert it. Or
how do I make it so that it only takes where the ID has an ID in the starting guild ID list?
has an ID in what sorted guild ID list?
Here's what I want to do with a for each. If my guild ID if my guild ID menu, that way it doesn't load empty stuff.
Alright.
However,
If you wanted to do the where thing, you could just stuff that nowhere and remove the negator, the exclamation.
Well, here's what I want to do with the for each. If the starting guild ID list does not contain this, the guild ID this is referencing doesn't add it.
Yeah.
However,
So
if it does, it adds it.
Alright, so take the list, do a where checking that is true, and then do and then do a dictionary method, and then just take out the ID. That's the way to get the key.
Yeah, but how would that work when both are enumerable types?
Both are enumerable types? What do you mean?
Okay, so the starting guild ID list is a list of elongs.
Yeah.
The entire thing of guild configs is an array.
Okay.
So how would I make it so that it only takes stuff from here?
Basically, to get current guild IDs, and then guild configs at all. Well, you see when you do guild configs at all, I'm guessing that's a list of all of the guild configs.
Yes. And
yeah, so
when
just do a where clause to check the ID. You know, like you did there, starting guild ID list dot contains. Just do that in a where clause, and it'll remove everything that's not. And now you have an enumerable for that, right?
Well, here's the thing. If I do that, what the hell? Oh, whoops.
Starting guild ID list dot contains. Oh yeah, and by the way, I lag a bit behind because it's on a Twitch stream. So if I'm saying shit you're already doing, that's why.
Right. So that should be good, right?
Yeah, that'll be a list where it only is the ones that are contained in that list.
Okay, so I can just do this.
And then you can just do it to dictionary. Yeah. If you want to simplify it more, you can just go to dictionary in that chain and not have to make a for each on it. Right? Like you can take an enumerable and turn it into a dictionary.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
No, wait, how the hell will that work?
To dictionary. As a method for the enumerable, same as where.
Oh,
It's an extension method. But at the end of that, just to dictionary. And then you'll need a lambda thingy.
Oh, not right now. Probably. There we go. That should work. Right?
Hover over the to dictionary and see if it's the right one. I haven't used to dictionary much, so I don't remember the format of them. Like to dictionary, the method. Source key select your elements. Yeah, that should be it.
Just make it slightly movable.
Yeah. And that's how you do that whole thing in one shebang. I like LinkU. It's nice.
What the hell? Why is it doing that? I hate that.
Sometimes those automated tools are annoying, aren't they?
Yes. There we go.
Yeah.
And now for refactoring basically half the damn bot.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. And doing this, you also don't have to worry about all the redundancy of having one object representing the guild config and then having dictionaries for all the values that are separate.
Alright.
Because now it's all in the same thing. And then you can just do, like, if you change something on one of them, you update that one.
So, okay.
Wait, have you ever learned to have indexers?
Yes.
Have you ever learned? Yeah, indexers. They're fucking nice. They're sexy.
Our guild key.
Basically, for every one of these functions, you just take the guild ID, you go find the object for the guild, and then fetch the property in question, and that's all you need to do. So you can basically copy paste the whole thing. You just change the property name and the return type and the method name.
I have to make your repeaters work after this, and I'm gonna fuck that up.
What's repeater?
Repeating messages. Sometimes it's called sticky messages.
Huh.
Okay, I'm actually gonna start.
Like every time someone posts something, it removes the old one and puts it underneath.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Maybe it was on your thing. I saw it. I don't remember.
Yeah, mine it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Oops.
Interesting concept. Might end up doing that on my bot eventually, but I have enough of shit to manage already. And already a poorly enough made core. You know, getting too complex for yourself is how you get the worst glitches and bugs.
Okay, so here is my first conflict, and this is gonna be extending over a lot of stuff. So I want to dynamically update a set value. Actually, hold on. Let me see if...
Basically, you'd want getters and setters.
Yeah.
How you become a coding god like him? The trick is just start coding shit. Make stuff. Come up with some random thing you want to make, and then just start doing it. Preferably something a little bit above your current level, but not too much. You don't want it to be too hard to do, but you won't want it to be tedious.
Here's the thing. I personally learned from messing around with existing projects. This started out as a Discord bot Mewdeko, and I've slowly worked my way up. I have messed around with things. I have changed random things to my liking. I use some built-in tools and the so-called IDE. This is an IDE. Where you can manage all your code. For example, it lists everything that can be used. So you can use this to your advantage and mess around. You also have the types on the right here that show you what can be used with that method or property or whatever it is.
Basically, get a good IDE.
Yeah. If you're just starting out, I recommend something small like Visual Studio Code. If you really want to get into it, then use Visual Studio.
I still use Visual Studio's code. It's the first one that worked and it's free.
I personally use Rider. Rider is paid. However, because my project is open source, meaning basically all of the code, I'll link it in chat and stack.
You probably want to just put that in your bio thingy on Twitch then, right?
Yeah,
so people can just look at whenever.
Probably should. since my stuff is open source, I basically got a free license for this. I use Writer a lot, helping out a lot where I completely forgot what to do. So, in terms of what you said, I'm not a complete coding god. In all honesty, nobody is and can be.
Yeah, neither of us are.
Yeah, everyone is always learning. At one point, if you try hard enough, you may even surpass us.
Probably will. Given a bit of time, a bit of work, dedication.
Yeah. All it takes is dedication and the right tool set. Personally, I could never deal with. Personally, I could never deal with videos ever.
Yeah.
They just were not my type of. They bored me to death. In all honesty, they bored me to absolute death. So, just find what's right for you, find what works for you, and go from there. I cannot speak for what method will work for you, more or less because everyone has their own method, everyone has their own way of life. Yes, I'm repeating myself because I'm trying to keep talking.
Well, if you want to get into coding, right, you gotta pick a language that you want to fuck with. Then you gotta start learning some of the basics. So, you know, online tutorials or a book, really good ways to like get the basic theory. It also works as a good way to look up afterwards. Like, you're like sitting there with lists and shit, and then you're like, huh, how did I do that? And then you will go back to the list part and just skim through and find the part you're looking for. You want to do Python? Yeah, that works too. Python's really beginner friendly and simplistic. I don't like it too much because it's too simplistic, so it's hard to keep track of what I'm doing. But you know, a lot of people like it, and I do actually like it to a degree. Like for machine learning, for statistics, that sort of stuff, it's really nice for that because you don't have to worry about all the little things. Oops, my keyboard.
The one thing that I personally don't like about Python is it's very sensitive to the way you write code. So, for example, if you put a space somewhere and it's not supposed to be there, the entire thing will yell at you. And sometimes it may not even be helpful. Otherwise, Python is pretty good for some backend, it's pretty good for AI, it's pretty good for machine learning. And it's also a good it's a good language to get yourself into, honestly. At the moment, a lot of people are hiring for Python, so
yeah, there's a lot of applications.
Yeah.
Shit doesn't need to be super performant or more experimental shit.
Right.
Or you know, if you're doing statistics or physics and you want to do simulations, you use Python. So you don't have to learn memory management and type checking and all that shit.
Not only that, but Python is actually pretty fast in general for stuff like that. More or less because it is not a compiled language. Basically, what a compiled language is for example, here C#, to run it, I have to compile or make the entire application. So instead of it running as I have it, it has to make it into something the machine can run. So let me show you what that usually looks like.
Imagine the computer only speaks Latin and you have to translate whatever language you use to Latin for it to run.
Yeah.
Compiled languages, they turn it into Latin and then send it to computer. Interpreted, they translate it to Latin on the go. So it's a lot faster to start up because you don't have to compile the whole thing, but it does take more resources running it. But it's also more flexible. You can edit shit in real time.
Yep. I mean, Microsoft has kind of made adding real-time stuff in C# a little bit easier with hot reload, but that's a completely different topic. So here's what a compiled language does. It builds an actual application your computer can run, versus Python runs it as is. It has its own compatibility layer to make sure it runs on the system.
He's asking you to lower the music, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Struggling to
Sorry.
hear.
Is that good? Oh, Mac coders, it's more of because there's a slightly larger Mac ecosystem. Um, that and the fact that usually Macs sometimes perform better when it comes to code, depending on what Mac you have. Sometimes you can get a pretty good Mac, like the MacBook Air. Like literally, you can get the MacBook Air and it'll be very good for code. Like for example, it can run Minecraft at 60 FPS just fine, versus same computer at that price range. When same Windows PC at that price range can get you like 40, 30 FPS. So usually Macs are better for coding. Depending on what you already have, Macs can be better for coding.
Man, back on the main point of learning how to become better at coding, you picked yourself Python, right? So what you gotta do is you gotta learn the basics, like loops, conditions, functions, splitting things into files or modules or whatever. You know, get a basic grasp of that and a little bit of objects and shit. And then you gotta start fucking around with stuff, right? Like, come up with something you want to make that you can visualize in your head and you can break it down into reasonable steps that, you know, you don't fully know what to do. Like, you'll be like, oh, I need to load the data from the file, but you know how to load shit from file, and you know how to parse, so you can figure that stuff out reasonably, right? Then it's a little bit of a challenge, so it's not boring, but it's also not so much that you don't know what to do. And a great example of doing something like that is Discord bots, honestly, because you can just come up with new features on the go and add stuff. So, you know, it becomes as complicated as you want it to be. You make the bot, then you're like, oh, I want to make a cooldown, and you start making a cooldown, then you want to make a command that just generates a random gainus. You could do that. That'll be good training and randomizing, and, you know, a little bit more practice on making commands. And you can move on to more complicated stuff, like you can make a wallet or a level system, and expand on it over time. Like, first you just give XP every time you send a message with a cooldown, then you can add more complicated stuff for it. You can add levels, shit like that, you know, as you go. That's what I did. I started with fuck all. And now mine just has 60,000 lines of random features. And find find the server for the library you use or whatnot, so you can get help with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can just be like up their own ass. Sometimes they can be helpful. You never know.
Right. Here's the thing. Python recently just picked up development for as a Discord library, like the official d.py Discord library. The official maintainer has been on hiatus for 4-5 months, I think it was, because of Discord's weird changes, and they didn't agree with them, so they just left. So people just made other versions of d.py, and then Danny, the maintainer of d.py, decided to return because he didn't like how everything was turning out.
It's kind of like DNet then, where like the maintainers kind of like vanished, and then people made their own shit like labs, and then now it's coming back. But that was like 2 years, I think.
Right.
What kind of shit was it that you ended up falling out with Discord over? Was it like changes to the code or like API?
It was mostly because he didn't agree with how. Actually, I probably have the write up somewhere. Huh. I can probably pin it in chat later, but I think it was because Danny did not agree with how Discord was running things and their changes to slash commands, buttons, etc. So he basically left the scene because they were changing way too much, way too fast.
Alright.
It's the same way it is right now.
Yeah, well, you know, just like that. You want to make changes, and some people want them really slow. Some people want a lot of stuff. Hard to
Right.
find a balance. I keep having people tell me whenever I talk about a new feature Discord's made that they're like, "Why are they so slow?"
Right.
And shit like that. Like, why haven't they added this and that yet? I mean, I've done some stuff in different classes like APIs and shit, so I kind of get it. You know, you can't just rush everything. I'm just hyped about the stuff we already got. Like now we got what's it called again? Modals, yeah. That stuff seems
Yeah.
kind of cool. I want to use that later. Yeah, no problem. Helping you out with the codes and stuff, man. I don't know much about streaming programming. I'm guessing they're probably just in the zone. But when you want to be in the zone, it's probably not a good idea to stream what you're doing. Just like trying to kill your zone.
Yeah. I I try to beat a lot of stereotypes, honestly.
Yeah.
I honestly try to help out people that need it. Um, on Discord, I try to be the opposite of what people usually expect from like a server owner or a Discord admin. I try to be as helpful as possible. No, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just laughing when you talk about server owners, Discord admin, because there's a lot of stereotypes about them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There is
I love the
there
memes.
yeah. There's a lot of stereotypes that I personally don't agree with, mostly because they overgeneralize. Um, yes, there are many owners and admins that do abuse their perms, are involved with uh,
Grooming.
non. Yeah, that,
That's the most
and
formal term to use.
yeah,
To
and
not get
other
banned.
non favorable stuff. I personally tend to have an. I personally tend to yeah, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I have been an admin in some of those servers where it's just active for like one single part of the day, and chat is like continuously flowing, and the next thing you know, everything's dead.
Yeah.
It's dead. Like,
I hate those servers where they get mad if you don't agree.
yeah. Then there are the servers that are just purely toxic. Uh, I I personally don't like those servers. Mostly because it doesn't really match how I like to be. So
It's always hard to find a balance though. Hard to get to a
yeah,
point where you have rules that effectively take all kinds of toxicity without also being abusable as hell. Because usually they turn into a catch-all for anything they don't like. Oh, you insulted my kitten. You're being toxic. Complaining about how we run things? That's toxic.
just bad.
By the way, if you're doing a lot of bot, the all guilds config thingy, you could just grab it once at the start.
Well, yeah, I know, but here's my current problem. Let me pull up how it was for the change. Sun is shining
Sure.
in my eye. One moment.
Huh, I always have blinds on the window. I
Yeah,
like
my
the
blinds were
privacy,
torn down by
especially
my dog,
Huh.
and my
Oh,
window
you have
was
a
smashed
dog? That's
too.
cute.
Yeah, German Shepherd.
Huh. I
Okay,
miss
so
dogs. They're
okay,
great. They're like
so
retarded kids.
no, let's not use that.
Oh yeah. But I'm also but I am R word, so I should be allowed to say it, right?
No,
Aw, why not?
cause no, no.
This place is tyrannical. That was like the one good thing
Yeah, I
about
do.
being R word is that I can say it.
Hold on. This is my bot server, and I also have another server I'm an admin in that we're trying to be as wholesome as possible, and that means helping out other people.
Yeah.
That second invite is the wholesome server.
You know how to
Okay,
put those in your
so
bio thingy here as well, so anyone could just click it when they're here.
I have that second server in my bio already.
Yeah, I don't see anything down there. Owner of Mewdeko, it says.
Oh damn, that's not good.
Huh.
Free chat.
Huh.
I mean, yeah, depending on what you're doing, coding can actually help you get started and have a better salary.
Yeah. And if you're interested, it's a lot of fun. If you got the mind
Oh,
for
yeah.
it. Shouldn't force yourself though. Like some people are literature people. I cannot literature for jack shit. I can code like crazy though. My brain's all structure and shit. Like when I learned SQL, my brain got a metaphorical boner because it was all structured and made so much sense. But writing articles and shit, my brain goes like, but this, but that, and then all the rules of linguistics is like A before E except yada yada. There's like exceptions and shit to remember. I can't do that. No, we got another viewer. We're at 3 now. Hello, other viewer. Did not wake up this morning expecting to be on Twitch all of a sudden, but hey, whatever. As long as I don't have to actually have an account, it should be fine.
Yeah. There's no way I can shorten that, is there?
Shorten what?
Yes.
Let's see. Contains channel ID.
Oh, hey, we're at 4 viewers.
Well, you could, like I said, store bot underscore bot dot thingy, like indexing that shit, and that way you don't have to have the whole thing. You can store channel ID as well.
You do realize the whole point of making it a dictionary was to avoid storing every single setting.
Well, no, I'm talking about like you're getting the same one every time, right? For these down here.
No. These are different.
But it's channel.guild.id every time, right?
No, channel.id for this one, and then.
Oh. Like when you're getting old guilds configs, you're getting the same channel.guild.id for each, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could just store that at the start after getting it once in this function, right? Not in the global context.
No,
like,
I don't.
Function. So you don't have to query it every single time.
Well, no, but these are two different variables here.
Are they?
Yes. This is a bool. I mean, this is a hash set of that.
Well, yeah, the properties are different, but they're both from the same object, right? The same guild config object. So you could just grab that before you do these, and then instead of querying it, instead of indexing the dictionary every time, you just use the one you found the first time, unless it has a reason to be changed between them, right? Like you're getting it from the same channel, so that's not changing.
Should I just store the go config here?
Yeah. Because then you just get it once, and then you use the variable each time.
Right.
That way you don't have to repeat yourself every time. So it shortens the code, shortens all the work, because, you know, dictionaries take a bit to index and the whole thing.
Right.
And, you know, if you change the code later on, it's less work. You know, and then just do copy the guild into the GC variable and just replace that.
Yep.
Boom. Easy.
Alright, now for
DRY. Yeah, don't repeat yourself.
Yeah.
It's always handy. Makes it easier to change later on. So, you know, if you're like me and you make random shit and then you improve it later on, as you go, having no idea what you're doing, then
Right.
learning how to do stuff like this so that you have to change less each time. It's key to not sitting there forever. Refactoring half the core bot takes ages on its own, even with this sort of thinking. Algebra, calculus. Algebra, that was the one where you have x's and y's and you gotta figure out what those are, right? And then calculus is what? I forget the name, what the names mean. Let's see. I have a notebook here. Might say something here. It's in Scandinavian. I don't know what calculus is translated to. Is it just basics like multiplication and addition and shit? Is that what it is, or?
Wait, what'd you say?
Calculus.
Calculus.
What does it cover?
I don't think no, I haven't taken calculus. I can't really say.
I'm gonna fucking look this thing up. I'm about to wonder what the Hage calculus is too many times. I'm just trying to figure out. Calculus.
Managed to misspell it.
Infinitesimal calculus. Infinitesimals.
Infinitely.
Oh, it's just limits, huh?
Yeah, basically.
Limits were cool. Well, I don't think you'll be doing a lot of limits in the you're not going to be doing lots of limits in the coding itself. If you're like making complicated formulas and shit for distributions, you might have to touch some of that stuff. Or, you know, trying to shorten a code by looking at things that are redundant. But that's something you probably won't have to worry about too much at the start, at least. I mean, it'll only be calculus and shit in terms of what your bot has to do. If your bot has to do calculus, then you have to do calculus. Or like the code, right? Like if the thing you're trying to achieve requires doing it. You know, if you're doing payment systems and shit, you probably have to do some calculations. If you're doing distribution curves and shit to make more interesting randomization, you'll have to do some more advanced maths, or just find one that does that for you, someone else has made, and load that stuff in there. But on its own, coding doesn't really need much maths. And you know, you start off with suboptimal code, and you learn how to code better over time.
Okay, that's administration service to go, and I wonder how many errors there are.
But yeah, you shouldn't rely on the crypto roller coaster. That's high risk.
Yeah.
If people bought into Bitcoin ages ago, they got rich, but nowadays, like, you're unlikely to find another Bitcoin. And if people are hyping it up as the next Bitcoin, it's not going to be the next Bitcoin. If it starts off with hype, it's probably going to crash. Might not, but probably. And you shouldn't rely on these things. You know, it's like a gamble, right? Like, you're playing a slot machine, you can't gamble. You can gamble for fun, right? If you got disposable income and you're doing it for fun, not expecting to win, that's fine. But if you're going there with your mortgage, risking all of it on hopefully winning big and being able to pay off all your shit, then you're most likely gonna get fucked, right?
Yeah.
It's a bad idea. Think of it almost like gambling, right? I mean, there's more to it, so it could be planned out and shit, same as stocks, but you probably won't get it right. You can play with it for fun, you can play with it with disposable income, but you gotta have an actual a stable source of income. You know? You know, if you find coding looks interesting, like might be fun to do, like something you could be interested in doing, you should probably look into it. Like me, I fucking love coding. And there's a big market for it. No, beware, it's not all like making cool shit. You also have to document like crazy, and then there's projects that are requiring you to do repetitive or boring stuff. And unit testing, probably. I still haven't touched that, but I'm still studying. I mean, I have touched it in uni a bit. But, you know, as far as I understand, in actual work, you're probably going to be doing a lot of those. Yeah, 1000% gain would be great, but what are the odds?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't understand the market. And even then, even if you have a pretty good understanding, there's always something that can happen to fuck you over. Like, it's incredibly complex and shit, right? Like, supply of some random thing means that the supply of the things that makes gets a problem too. Like if there's not enough people buying a thing, then the people making that won't buy the materials, which means the companies producing that will be having problems, and then so on and so on. Yeah, you ought to save up a little. You ought to have like a little bit aside in case you need it. Rainy day funds are always nice to have. Never know when shit hits the fan. You lose your job, whether because the company's shit or because they just can't hire you right now, or like financing and shit like that. Then your car breaks down, your house goes on fire. You always need something to back you up, right? But to save up money, you need a source of income as well.
Jesus, 179 frame drops. It's a little too much.
Huh. Frame drops.
Yeah.
And if you get really into code, and it's a lot of fun, as long as you have the interest. And, lots of jobs for it, so good market. So if you think it might be for you, try it out. I recommend. Good place to just get some free learning and stuff like that. W3 School. I'm pretty sure they have a Python thingy too. They have tutorials that go through a bunch of shit, and then after you're done with the tutorial, you could always use it as a lookup table later. You're like, huh, how did I do this with dictionaries again? And you go there and look at the dictionary section, you're like, ah, that's how I do it.
Yep.
I did that a whole lot.
I mean, I've been at this. Can't speak. I've been at this for 2 years, and I would say I'm pretty successful. Mewdeko, the bot that I own, is in 4.6K servers. That's after 2 years. It doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot. So yeah, $19 an hour. That's not bad at all, actually.
I mean, I recommend you get another source of income first. Like
Yeah.
going and doing that, and then you program a bit on the side, learn how to code a bit. Like they're not gonna hire someone who doesn't know how to code anything, right? Because it's gonna take too much time to train them.
Right.
Learn a bit on the side. W3 School, do some tutorials from a book or something, and then make something for fun. Something that might be fun to fuck around with. Make chess, make tic-tac-toe. I don't know. Make a program that takes a file and sorts every character in the file in alphabetical order and then saves it back. Completely useless, but it's funny. Mess around with encryption, that's always fun. I got
Just,
fascinated like crazy the first time I learned encryptions.
just don't go over your head. That's my
Yeah.
one main piece of advice. Don't. Don't. How should I say this? Don't try too hard. There is always a limit. If you try
Yeah.
too hard, it may end up being fatal, as in
And
mental health fatal. So try. So you can try hard, but do limit yourself. Otherwise, it may not end well.
yeah. Don't bite over more than you can chew. If you take something way too complicated, you'll be stuck with too many things you're trying to figure out and you won't get jack shit done, right? Take something where you understand it enough that you can break it into pieces and you can see where you need to learn or what you're gonna struggle with, but you can see the basic structure in your head. You know, and the complexity needs to be on your level. If you haven't coded much before, you can't make like a complicated structure with databases and like service classes and all that stuff. You know, you gotta limit yourself to a more simple thing. Oh, and object-oriented programming is amazing as a principle. You oughta learn that. It makes thinking up code so much easier. You know, just pick up stuff, learn basic stuff, and then mess around with stuff and start seeing something that you get curious about and learning it over time. Everything doesn't have to be formal. You know, whether you'll succeed if you put in a little time depends on the way your brain works, like how structured your thinking is. You know, what kind of programming you're doing, how motivated and interested you are, and then opportunities, right? Networking, jobs. You know, just because you're good at coding doesn't mean you'll get a job. You have to get a job from someone. You have to convince them, show them how good you are with coding, and then they'll like, oh yeah, you're really good, and in a way that we need. Here, that's the salary. Yeah. You know, if you put a lot of work into it and you really like it, then you'll probably be able to succeed as long as you do it proper and you're not like, oh, I want to make this super duper ultra fast, but also use way too much time. You know, because you gotta balance stuff out, right? Time to market's important and upgradability, but you'll learn those sorts of things later on. You know, don't get overwhelmed with all the random shit I'm saying. You know, I didn't know any of this stuff when I started either. Just figured most of it out as I went.
Yep. Pardon me for not talking as much. I try to talk as much as I can even though I'm doing this.
And multitasking can be hard.
Yeah. Oh, that's one other thing. Don't multitask too hard. Seriously.
Yeah, you'll find the balance. Sometimes a bit of music's fine. Sometimes you want something more stimulating, like you'll have a podcast in the background. Sometimes you just want peace and quiet. Sometimes you want to do something else while you're coding. It depends on what you're doing and how much you need to focus and what state your brain is and all that. But you'll figure that out. Oh, and the zone. The zone is great. When you get super focused on a thing, like an idea that you're coding, you just start coding without having to consciously think about it or stop for anything. You stop noticing hunger or tiredness and shit.
That's
Just
that's what I meant about overdoing it.
yeah.
Just
Obviously take care of yourself, right? Like you don't need to starve yourself for a week, right? But you will eventually feel the zone. Like for an hour, you just disappear into this world where you're just coding constantly as a stream. It feels really fucking great. But you can't rely on it either. Like it'll be periodic. It'll come about naturally. You'll see what it means. What I mean when you get it there, though. Like most of this stuff, lots of stuff I'm saying, probably lots going over your head. Just store it in the back of your head somewhere. It'll make sense later. And stuff you figure out with experience.
In all honesty, you can try and in and out. Honestly, it's at least a good starter. $19 an hour.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I don't know what the cost of living's over there. South America. Yeah. So I'm guessing not too high compared to other like the standard Western countries. So it's probably pretty good salary.
But then you also have to worry about how your hours, how long you're actually going to be working.
Yeah.
Just again, don't burn yourself out. You can definitely try coding. You can succeed if you really try. Honestly.
Yeah.
So far, I'm successful, even though I've beat myself up about this many times.
Yeah, me too. You get inferiority complex, imposter syndrome all the time. You see someone else making way smoother code, and you're like, "Fuck, why didn't I do it like that? It seems so obvious right now. Why couldn't I think of that?" It's like that. If you go into maths as well, more advanced maths is just an incredibly obvious combination of simple math when you break it down, and then you're like, how did I not think of that? Right? But it's just how it is. Like, I've seen, you know, the rule of something minus itself is 0. I've seen that used in proof backwards. They'll add 0 and then turn it into something minus itself and move that around until they make a completely new formula that makes a lot more sense.
Oh, whoops, that's backwards.
Yeah, good luck, man. If you do it well, you know, come back and show us how you doing. You know, and if you're working on stuff and you're like struggling with some like theory stuff, for example, object-oriented programming, how do you do it better? You know, how can I structure this? Stuff like that. You know, holla at me. I like teaching people that stuff too.
Yeah. If you need any help, I'll always be available in my Discord in Mewdeko's Clubhouse.
Yeah, like we're doing more C# than Python, but you know,
Yeah.
theory and structure can often go across languages. Then I've done Python quite a bit before. Huh.
Oh dear.
And
That's not good.
$30 a day, not much. That's 300 crowns. I think it's about as much as I'm doing too, but I'm a student though, so I don't spend much. Then I'm more of an indoor person. But I mean, hey, $19 an hour in and out. That'll be like 1.5 hours to cover your daily expenses at the current rate. You know, and if you're used to living with not much, you can, you know, still increase to a little bit more. You know, live a little, but you know, put something aside. You know, save up some. And it's work experience, so it'll look good on your CV compared to doing nothing, at least. You know? Like you said something about failing business school, you know? Like, that's not good. That looks bad on your CV and all that, but if you could turn it around and be like, yeah, I failed business school, but now I'm a programmer and I'm pretty good at this stuff, you know? Then you can turn it from a failure story to a redemption story. And people love redemption arcs, dude. That shit fucking pays. You know, everyone makes mistakes. It's relatable, right? You pick business school, you find out it's not for you, or you prioritize wrong or whatever it is, and then later on you succeed somewhere else and you find out that's your true calling. That's like a good story, a good old thing. You don't have to explain away that part of your CV. You know, like they don't care if you failed business school because it wasn't your thing if you're doing really good in programming and they're hiring a programmer, right? Like if you're the kind of person who does the bare minimum, that reflects bad. But if you do what you do, but if you do well in programming and you just didn't fit in for that, that doesn't really matter to them, right? Plus, a little bit of business school experience also helps with programming because you got to program for a company, right? You got to work with marketing that has to think of how much will this probably affect sales, how important is this, and you got to work with financing to see like how much will this cost, etc. You know, nobody's willing to pay for a product for twice the price of the regular for a feature they don't care about, even if it's impressive, right? 50% smaller laptop, people who don't care about laptop size that much won't pay twice as much, right? You know, it's the balance between marketing, financing, management, programming, etc. So having a little bit of that business knowledge will help. Like, we learn a bunch of that shit in our schools. One of the great things about programming is one of the things you can just learn and become good at without having to go to a university proper, or you know, being in a workplace. If you just do that shit on your own, and then you just make some stuff, and you can show that off and be like, yeah, I made these things, you know. not the greatest thing in the world, but I'm working my way up. It's pretty decent, right? And then they'll hire you for that, and you prove yourself at the workplace, and you just get good.
Yep.
I got a peer reviews, but by the end of today, so.
Didn't think I was gonna be refactoring the entire bot today.
Yeah. It was like that. Yeah, you could always pick up a skill like that. It's always practical to do. Saves you money. Just I'll go to uni though, because it's practical to have on the CV and to make sure I learned the right things. Or like generally the right areas. But there's plenty of stuff to cover in there that I wouldn't have gone into if I just randomly picked up shit on my own. But doing shit on your own is also useful. No, I'm in Europe. But you're in the US, right? Sylvian?
Oh, sorry. I'm in America.
Yeah.
North America.
And I'm in the north of Europe. Not a big fan of the EU though. Like sovereignty. I don't know. Probably been infected with American culture and virtues from a young age.
Huh.
A lot more freedom oriented than my peers. Yeah. I learned English from the internet and from television. Spend way too much time. I'm terminally online. You know, like when you move to a place, you slowly pick up their accents and quirks and stuff.
Yep.
If you only sit inside and talk to people online, then you pick up their quirks and shit. Like the reason you pick it up when you move to a place is because you talk to people who talk like that. You know, if you're online and talk to people online all the time, you pick up quirks from them, like in the same way. You know, most media is American, and then followed by British English, and then some Australian and Irish and Scottish and all that. So you got little hints of small bits of everything in there, but mostly American. I've even had Americans deny that I'm not American. They're like, no, you're definitely American. But usually Americans can sniff me out. They'll pick up on the small little hints that others won't.
Yep.
Because, you know, different dialects in America probably have a mixture of different ones, and they're like, yeah, that's not one of, like, any particular one of ours. And they'll pick up on the more British hints in my accent as well. I'm walking it!
I'm
That's
walking
very
it.
funny. Yeah. That'd be a fun sight to behold.
I
Just
mean,
this Jamaican guy with dreads and the
I
beanies
am.
and all that
Here's
shit,
the
and it's
thing.
like,
I am actually from New York, so it's slightly weird, you know.
yeah. Well, you don't get that heavy New York accent. But then again, that's a
No.
stereotype. I just like it because it's funny.
Yeah, I know. I know. But here's the other thing. I'm also part Ukrainian, so that's a little bit, you know.
Oh, Ukraini Slava. That actually sounded
What?
like a Sims thing. You know, Slava or Ukraini? Isn't that a thing from the song? At least in the memes. Ukraini Slava. You don't know that one?
Slava Ukraine?
Am I just tripping?
Probably.
Unlikely.
Ooh.
Ray Romano? Who's that? And which one of us? How big the delay on the stream is. I'm gonna turn on audio and see. Test.
Shouldn't be too bad. I have
5 seconds.
Or
5
Jesus,
seconds.
I have low latency disabled. I mean enabled.
Huh. Let me copy Ray Romano and search him up. I'm curious who he is now. I think I've heard the name before. I'm not good with names and directories or whatnot. Ray Romano is a yeah. Everyone loves Raymond. I recognize the face somewhat. I don't remember any of his accents or anything, but whatnot.
Yeah, you might wanna. Join Programmer Humor instead. Programming Circle Jerk is not, you know.
Yeah, don't get with the kinds of people that are all like up their own ass about how superior they are for their programming style or language or knowledge.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that scare me off of asking for help is that they'll be up their own ass and keep whining about how I should do a completely different solution and rework the whole damn thing.
Right.
Or just scream at me for the way I'm doing it. There's also one part of why I find it funny to, you know, show off the way I do, for example, versioning. Remember that? I just have a bunch of folders that are just copies of the same bot. Like I just copy the bot whenever it's time to update and then move this test bot into the main bot. It pisses them off so much. It's always funny. Yeah, and I always hated those people that are like all up their own ass. I mean, when I was a kid, I saw people talking with big words and I was like, maybe if I talk with smart words, I become smart too.
Nope.
But no, don't do that. The real way of being smart is to take complicated stuff and instead of repeating the terminologies you've heard for them, you translate it to the level of the person you're talking to, you know? Like I could have used a lot of overcomplicated terms that you wouldn't have any idea what meant, but that wouldn't have let you know anything. By the way, you're gonna have to put a question mark before .id as well. Because otherwise you'll get a null exception thingy if the first one's null. And then just do double question mark 0 or something. Turn it to a not nullable. Because you know, if after's null, so the question mark there works, then you're getting the idea of nothing. Oh yeah, if you laugh at the circle jerk people, it's always fun. I haven't done many subreddits. I found one recently that I respect. Love for Landlords. They're really fun. They're fucking hilarious.
So what in hell do I do here?
Voice channel. After that voice channel. What is it? Complaining? Nullable Yulong. Wait, is game voice channel a Yulong?
Huh? Oh no, wait, yeah, it is. Oh, okay.
Then you have to
Whoops,
get the ID.
I'm being an idiot. Probably do this too.
Yeah, question mark .id. If it's nullable. You can do comparisons in nullable. If one of the sides is null, it'll always just become false no matter what. But if they both have values, it'll compare the values like regular. Question though, what happens if you try to get one that's by ID 0? Wouldn't that throw an exception because there's no guild thingy for 0?
Most likely.
You might want to use a sentinel value. Like you make a default return. That's like this one doesn't exist that you can use without getting like tosses. It would be take the class, create an instance that represents the lack of any. Like if you send in 0, you get that one, and it lets you not get errors. And just use a default behavior.
I mean,
like
what
if you're
if
looking for the game channel of no server, you just get like the ID of the game channel of a server. You just have it return 0, right? Because that represents nothing, like no channel. Or you could wrap the whole thing in checking if that thing exists.
Yep. This would be much easier than doing that.
Yeah.
Well, so far the programming humor sub has been full of people trying to make code to find how something is been.
Yeah, the Android dev meme.
Yeah, that's.
And a little note on Yandere Dev, if you ever look at his code and stuff, don't worry if you
Don't.
code like that at the start.
No, don't.
It's beginner level codes. It's normal for people to code like that at the start. The problem is he's been doing that for how long now?
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, and he's still making it like that. That's the problem.
Yes.
But it is also a lesson in
as long as you
debt.
learn to move on, you'll be fine.
Yeah. He's a case study in the problem of technical debt. Technical debt is when you make a bad implementation, like you write code poorly, and then you use that so many places that changing it will become too much of a hassle, and you just have to keep doing it. And then that causes the rest of your code to be shit, because you need to fit that shit code. You'll figure it out on your own by playing around with it. I learned technical debt from making my bot the hard way. Like, there's too many things to take into account to just learn it from pen and paper. You just have to make mistakes and see it.
Oh.
You'll do a thing, and later on you'll find a better way of doing it, and find out you've been doing so much more extra work for it that way, and you're like, huh, wish I'd done it like that. And the next time you do it better.
Yep, that's what coding is.
Yeah.
Doing it one way, then realizing down the line you could have done it in many other ways, like much better than what you just did.
Yeah, it's normal. So many people out there, so someone does one thing better than some random thing better than you, guaranteed.
Hey, that's actually exactly what I do. Like, honestly. Like, literally, I can code the entire day. Like, I'm already coding for 2 hours here. And then just for the next 3 days, just sit down and watch YouTube, do nothing. Or play games. Coding can both be a hobby and a job. If it's a hobby, you do not have to consistently, like, do it. It's almost the same thing with a job. If they don't continuously try to make a code, then you can just relax and procrastinate for like 10 days straight.
Yeah. More modern places, they usually let you do it your way as long as you produce good results. Like if you program for 3 hours and then do some other shit like reading a book or fucking around with some side project, and that gives better results than them forcing you to sit there for 8 hours straight, then they'll just let you do that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the results that would matter to the bottom line. Though some of the more like micromanagey ones will keep nagging you about constantly making shit, and then they'll measure you in terms of commits. Well, sometimes you code for 12 hours straight. I've done that before when making the bot. Just sat there coding for ages. And sometimes I can't do more than like a couple hours. Depends on how much is in my head at the time.
Sometimes with Mewdeko I can code for an entire day straight and forget to eat.
Yeah, that's the zone for you.
Yeah. 202 errors, I just noticed. Oh boy.
If you keep going at once, it's less interruptions, so you keep stuff in your brain better. You know, because you got temporary storage in your brain, and when you do other shit, it kind of flushes that out.
Yeah.
So it makes it harder to code if you keep getting interrupted all the time. But you also need to take breaks at times. Stop and think, you know. Sometimes your brain just goes into a zombie-like state where you can only think in terms of basic stuff, and you'll just make automated code, almost. If you just go for too long. Sometimes you just need to take a break and you need to, like, clear your mind or, you know, look a bit more on the problem and think, and then you come up with a better way of doing it. It's a balance you figure out on your own. And it's different for each person.
Yeah.
Like me, I've coined my own little style now on my bot. I call it procrastination-based development. Where I come up with a bunch of ideas, put them in a giant to-do list randomly, and then I procrastinate them. And I use other ones. I use procrastinating some of them as a motivation to do others. And then having them there, you know, it lets my brain slowly process it. So at some point I'll just go, aha, and then come up with a massive, like, a major breakthrough in one of the ideas. And I'll start doing that like crazy. Like, for me, it helps having enough different things you could be working on so you can switch between them, but also not too many. But like I said, style. It depends on the person. Some people work better one way, some people work better another way, and it can also depend on environments, like how much documentation and testing and all that stuff.
Yep.
You know, if you're just doing it as a hobby, you just do it for as long as you feel like, and or as short as you feel like. You know, because it's just a hobby.
Oh, I do.
Oh yeah, at the start you're gonna have the problem of why isn't this working when you're making code?
Yeah.
But when you get later on, you start getting a new, more confusing problem, and that is, why the hell is this working? Where you do something that shouldn't fix anything, and then it just works, and you don't know why. It's very weird. It's a very weird feeling the first times you do it. It's kind of a funny problem.
Well, actually, that's a little bit debatable. Having a bad sleep schedule can actually affect your performance in coding, depending on what you're doing. For example, I can be up all night and code in something, and then next thing when I wake up, I'm like, oh shit, why did I do that? That's gonna break the entire thing.
Yeah.
That's happened way too many times where I actually pushed a fix at night at like 3 a.m. in Mewdeko, and I fell asleep and I woke up, the bot was down. I'm like, holy shit, what happened? And I realized that my fix wasn't a fix, it actually broke everything.
Pushing commits at 3 a.m. Gone wrong, gone sexual, we kissed.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
What? That's the
not
standard
say
template
that.
for 3 a.m. All 3 a.m. videos are like that. Well, I'm not allowed to say the S word on Twitch?
Oh, it's not that, it's just... they like to be picky as shit.
Oh, yeah, because, you know, holla at me when I'm doing something saying something I shouldn't on Twitch, because I don't know how these guys are.
Anything that calls them out, basically.
Well, I didn't say anything about them since like when I first joined the VC. Yeah, of course it's haram. Everything I do is haram, or I wouldn't do it. I live in the image of Harambe. Be haram. Hopefully, by living in his image, I might cancel out the chain of events caused by his death that have drawn us this path. This chain of events that led to a pandemic and a massive societal like crisis, everyone going at each other, and now invasions and shit. If only we hadn't shot that gorilla.
Bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're having problems with, like, commits you do in the middle of the night, make yourself a rule, just don't push the commits unless you have, like, a few hours to wait and see. Like, being there so you can notice. It'd be a good rule in general. Like, you don't need to push the commits anyways, do you? Like, until you need the effect. So waiting till the morning wouldn't do much. Right? Like, the code's still there, right?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing with coding, repositories like Git and how committing and pushing and pulling and all that stuff. I don't even do it yet. So you learn it at your own pace. Some people start
This
off learning that shit immediately because it's practical, and some people like me I haven't learned it yet because it's a hassle to figure out. There's lots of shit to figure out, but you got lots of time as well for the most part.
I think.
Yeah.
Let me find some more.
And I can't imagine anything I'd want to work with more than programming. Like science and shit seemed interesting. Like learning about it in school, that was like cool as hell. But it's just too much documentation and repetition in practice. It would just be repeating other people's things to test if it's repeatable, and doing lots of paperwork, and I hate those things. Oh, we're not gods. We just know a bunch of shit from fucking around long enough.
Yeah.
Exactly, experience. Like you learn some theory, but it doesn't stick until you mess with it. And then once that sticks, you need to use it to learn how to like what it's good for, like how to use it properly.
Chris.
And if you
All
want to
right, because
feel like a decent salary and live far away from society, then yeah, programming is probably the best idea because remote doing shit. Programming is probably one of the easiest ones to remote. Personally, I prefer physically being there. It makes it easier to focus and shit. That's up to each person. Like the same with classes for me. Online class, it just doesn't work. Yeah, trial and error. So you're gonna have to learn how to like test shit proper when you make like real stuff. Like they can't just trial and error a banking system, right? They have to be totally sure. So you do
right.
fuckloads of tests on it, stuff like that. It depends on what you're doing, of course. In experimental parts, you could just play around much more. But for a lot of it is you just come up with an idea for the problem. You mess around with it, see how it goes, and then update it as you go. Figure better shit out. Like it used to be the main model for doing a project was the what's it called in English? The waterfall method, I think. Yeah, came out of Japan for like car manufacturing, where they plan the whole thing in stages and then they do the whole thing in stages afterwards, which makes a lot of sense for cars and shit. But for programming, it didn't work as well. So they've gone to much more like dynamic models where you plan a bunch ahead of time generally, and you set up plans like milestones, and then you start doing the stuff, and you start seeing this didn't work. Okay, what can we do instead? And you have it broken down into pieces that are more flexible. So if one of these pieces doesn't work as you planned, you could change that, and the other parts will just use the piece, so they don't need to know how it works. And time to market. Let's say you're making like an example I was told once that I like is let's say you've been hired by what are they called again? I forgot their name. The
uh,
video rental company. Blockbuster, right?
Blockbuster.
Yeah, let's imagine like this is way in the past when they were big, right? Like before Netflix, and they're hiring you guys to like a company with you working in there, right? To make a program for like renting videos and shit, right? Like data management and like interfaces and all that. And it'll take like 2 years to make, right? And you plan the whole thing. You set it up so that like at the end of the project it'll be done. It won't work until then, right? But then a year, like a year to 1.5 years through the project, Netflix has come out and like Blockbuster's struggling. By the end of the 2 years, it's not going to need that program anymore, so you're not getting anything for it. So if you did that method, you're fucked, right? But if you do it in a more iterative and incremental, as they call it, way, where like you do it in steps, like you make something.
1 sec,
Like
I need to add.
incremental, it's like you make a thing and you add another part and add another part, and iterative is you make it and you improve it and you improve it. Then by the end of the first year, you'll have a meh but workable product. And then they're struggling because Netflix is coming out, and you'll be like, yeah, okay, here, you know, you need the system right now. We need to make sure we get our money. So you pay us the portion of what we're supposed to be paid in total. Don't know exactly how that is. And then you get this project as it is so far. Right? They need it more now, and you won't sell it later. So it's one of the reasons why that shit works. Because you can adapt more. You get much more flexible models nowadays. 10 to 15 years. I don't know. Depends on how shit goes. My hope is that by the end of this bachelor, I'll be able to get a job because COVID's calmed down. I mean, I probably can get a job now too because it's adjusted better. I just want to start doing stuff, making stuff, learning. Yeah, I'm a bit too much of an indoor person, which is why I've started now going to the gym a little. Good for the health and shit. Plus, it's good for your body too. Your body using more energy means it consumes more resources to make more energy, which makes you more, have more energy, so you can do more stuff. And then that can help me with programming and other project-related stuff by having more energy in general. One of the main reasons I'm doing it. Like I don't want to be shredded. I can't do all the effort required to, become like an Arnold Schwarzenegger and massive bulking muscles. But get a little bit more energy. Maybe get rid of some of the COVID weight. That'd be nice. If like 4 hours a week will help me improve my efficiency by 10 to 20%, then that's worth it, right? Time well spent.
So wait, can dependencies be used across partial classes? I don't think so, right?
Partial product.
Partial classes. I don't think so, right?
Like you make a partial class and you define one part one place and one part another place?
Yeah, because I'm not able to... Oh no, wait, never mind. Never mind, forget I said anything.
Partial classes is really nice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Though I do not use it the right way at all. Like you're supposed to use it to like have some of it defined in a completely different project, that adds support for stuff made in there. But I just use it to split up my code. One class takes care of like the initializing and stuff like that, and another part takes care of these things, and another part takes care of those things. But it's handy as fuck, to be honest. Yeah, 10 to 15 years. My plan is just getting a decent job, like a job where like they'll follow up on me, check how my progress is doing, because that'll keep keeping me motivated, right? Because if it's like 2 months till all this stuff has to be done, then I keep delaying it because I got lots of time, and then when it's not a lot of time left, I have to rush it all. But with them having like, for example, weekly check-ins on like how am I doing, like how's this, what progress have I made, what changes, so on. Then it's a week until I gotta show what I've done. And if it's like, yeah, I sat on my ass because there's nothing until like 2 months, that's not a good thing, right? That motivates me to work. Like I want to work, but shit motivation. So I need a way to push me to work better. But they're also, hoping for like an ideal company, they wouldn't also constantly micro me, or they wouldn't measure me on commits. Like, oh, you only committed 5 things, because that will just end up with me breaking things down into like the smallest possible pieces decrease the amount of commits. That's just how it works. It's over measurement is what it's called. When you focus too much on one metric and it causes people to create a worse end result just to up that metric. You know, and I don't want to have like a management or like directors or whatnot that constantly seek to fuck me over, so I have to keep monitoring like company rules and stuff. You know, I want one where like they'll be chill. You know, I need some time off because something just happened. They don't need me right now. I take a bit off right now and I come back and do more later.
One thing about what you just said. I personally will never, ever, ever make money from Discord bots. That's basically the philosophy of Mewdeko. A lot of bots have stuff locked behind premium. I want to break that stereotype too. Mewdeko has a lot of features that should be, or rather, people see that are locked behind premium and other bots, but on Mewdeko it's not. Everything you see is as is, and you can use it just fine. There's no vote locking, there's no premium or anything. I don't see the point in charging money for a digital product that won't exist in like 10 years. It's for me, it doesn't count as life essential, and to me, it would feel a little bit like exploiting. So I don't see the point in making money for bots. I do have a donation, yes, but all that goes right back into Mewdeko for hosting and for some of the services.
Yeah. Like if I ever went proper public and started having to host my bot and keeping it up all the time, and it would cost a decent amount of money, I'd probably have to find a way to monetize to pay for hosting. But I'm not in it for like earning profits and shit, right? It's just a hobby. But I don't think my bot's reliable enough to charge money for it, and I don't plan on that either. Because to me, if I charge money for it, right, I have a lot more responsibility to the users because they're paying me for this shit, right? If I'm just making a bot, right, then I'm responsible to the degree that I've brought it out there and like offered it to them, and they become somewhat dependent on it. And then I, should try and not fuck it over completely. But I don't owe them anything for them paying me or anything, right? And I like that. I don't like having that whole like I'm responsible to them because they've gave me a bunch of money. But you can earn money off of it, right? If you're wondering how, just think about it from the customer perspective. Like, you're making a bot. How do you get people to pay for it? What do you give them? What do you hold out on? Because you gotta have something to offer them. But unless it's a fully paid bot, you need to have free shit too. So, lower cooldowns, access to other features, access to like special commands. Like if it's a bot where you can get money and shit in the bot, like a pretend money, then if in addition to daily, you could have a weekly or a monthly command that's common thing for people. I don't want to do that shit though,
Basically,
because
like
that
a
fucks with
gamer.
the economy on the bot. Like, for me, it feels like that would make it pay to win and ruin it.
Yeah,
Always hated those things. Yeah.
pay to win is a bane of everyone's existence.
Yeah. Like, making the bot, right? There's constantly people wanting, like, shit they'll improve them for using it more, right? Like, as they progress, they get better. And I want to add that, right? Like, I want to add a sense of progression, but I also have to balance it with not making it too powerful, right? Like, you're a newbie, you come in there, and then some dude's like fucked around with a bot for a year, and he can just fuck you over whenever he wants, or he's got so much money that nothing you earn within a month will even compare. And I gotta scale the shit like that. I want to balance shit like that off, so I limit the amount the stuff like that makes the effects on the bot, but also give it some. Like, I also got a level thing on the bot, right? And the types of level rolls. And as you progress in the bot, you get better. Right? Slight improvements to it. Like the daily command gives you a bit more for each level you are, but the scaling drops because you level slower and slower. And you can buy items that give you temporary XP boosts. So you get a benefit if you actively use the bot. You're forgetting semicolons, by the way, you copy pastes.
Yeah, I know. Those are
Oh,
just the
you gotta
base.
add stuff. Okay, yeah, because it's templated, yeah. Fair enough. That's just in case you didn't, in case there was a mistake or something. Yeah,
No,
see. There are items on the bot that'll give you like 20% increased XP, but that scales linearly with other stuff. So, you know, let's say you got like your levels gave you like 50% more speed. That would be a 70. That wouldn't be 20 plus 20 of 50. You know, shit like that. And it's some advantage for actually using the bot, but it's not too much advantage to the point where people who don't use the bot lag behind. You know, because I don't want it to be like people who use the bot proper, like get into it. They get really high levels really fast, and to keep them from getting really high levels, I would have to tweak it so that becomes the norm. But that would mean people who don't actively use it level up really slow. So I just try to not separate them too far, and it's working pretty well so far. I mean, I always still get people complaining about there not being like enough reward for this and that. You know, slowly working on that. Yeah, no, monetizing it, you could just look at how to do that yourself. Like, how does Meesix do it? How does Rhythm do it? Rhythm had like...
sucks. Like, they monetize freaking changing the prefix. That's extortion to the highest level. Where?
Changing the prefix has to be free. Like, what the fuck?
No, it's not free.
You get conflicts with other bots. So essentially, if you don't pay, it's a hard-coded prefix bot. That's fucking stupid. Like, if two bots have the same prefix hard-coded into them or locked away with a paywall, you can't change it, and both of them will respond. That's fucking retarded. Oh. I was supposed to not say that word. Even though I have the R-word pass. It's a habit. Look, I kicked the N-word habit at least. Yeah, no, like, you know, for Rhythm, they charge for the volume setting. You know, it's just a pretty basic feature, so that's annoying. You know, Dank Memer bot, that charges for special commands like weekly and monthly to help you progress faster. Meesix charges for basic shit like changing prefix, also $80 to, or was it 50? I can't remember if it's 50 or 80 or whatnot, but quite a bit of money to get like the premium thingy forever to get level rolls on your server. You know, like locking level rolls away as a feature, I guess is fair enough, right? That's like a whole separate
freaking
feature.
$12 for a monthly plan.
Oh.
And $90 for a lifetime.
90, they've gone up. Damn. Yeah.
And you can only have one embed message on. Oh my god.
Huh. Yeah, no. You know, there's different things you can monetize. You know, you could have in-bot purchases probably, like you buy so-and-so in bot currency or XP or whatnot. Probably. There's plenty of ways to monetize it, and how much you want to monetize it is up to you, right? Like, you could monetize it like crazy to get more money, or you could just monetize it just enough to pay for service, or, you know, slightly above so you have a buffer in case shit goes bad. You know, it's always up to you. And you could monetize multiple things, right? To reduce how much you rely on each thing, like lock away some complex features or cap some features, and then also sell in bot currency or whatnot. Oh, it was free. And if you got the bot and set up level rolls while it was free, you still have it. But if you try to add it to a new server, it costs money to open the feature. Dude, at least to let people who already had the feature keep the feature. Could have been much worse, but still. They charge quite a lot for that bot. You know, if I went public with the bot and made it like verified and started hosting it and had to pay for hosting, I'd probably have to find a way to monetize it. So I wouldn't sit there paying lots of money to host a bot for people for free. But I don't want to go to the point of profiting off the bot. Like, to me, it's like, eh. I mean, if I made it my job, right, and worked 9 to 5 or some kind of freelancer equivalent of that, maybe I'd want to charge to the point where I have a salary, right, so that I can actually live while working that much. But I don't have enough to do on the bot to justify working with it as my job or anything. And it's not professionally enough made. You know.
That's his worst. It's the worst example of capitalism on Discord. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, the drawbacks of capitalism. At least it's worth getting food, though. Personally, I believe in a regulated form of it as the optimal, but nothing's perfect system. You know, if it's too free market, it becomes basically fascism, but with a corporate dictator instead of like a dictator of a government. And if there's too little freedom, then you know you get a dictatorship. And if you get in between, you get smaller problems. Many smaller problems instead of few bigger problems. Want to make sessions for every single user that exists, only when people are actively doing it. You know?
That's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a session. As soon as the user talks, it's gonna keep it in memory until the user stops talking. That's the point of an AI.
Yeah. Yeah, things are pretty interesting. Looking forward to hopefully figuring out how to put like an AI thing into the bot to mess around with it. It'll be fun.
That'll be
Interesting. And it'll be good practice because it'll be something I work on and actually learn properly from. I mean, machine learning is an interesting thing. I remember back in the days of Skynet and GLaDOS and what's that one? I can't allow you to do that, AI. You know, from fiction where it's like AI is gonna take over.
Oh god, Hollow? No, not Hollow.
HAL 9000 maybe?
Yes, HAL 9000, HAL 9000.
Yeah. The good old days of AI is gonna take over everything. And now I know what a machine learning actually is. It's not gonna take over everything unless you intentionally give it that power, because you gotta interface it with stuff.
Right.
It's just an overblown mathematical function. You're a piss.
Huh? Oh. By the way, most of the time you're probably going to be referencing other pieces of code. You have a refactor. Find out what the hell you were doing in the first place. What I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, you.
Yo,
Hi, Dad. I'm back.
congratulations.
I've developed the preemptive anti-dad joke system because of how prone I am to dad joking automatically. I don't want people to have the satisfaction of dad joking me back. Not because it would be bad if they dad joked me back, but because it's funny to deny them. Makes a game out of it too, because then they really look for the times I slip up.
Yep.
Man, on the whole reference in an old piece of code, yeah, I do that a fuckload. I actually do that constantly, not just when I'm struggling with something, but I'll be like, huh, how do I add these fields like that? Oh yeah, I did it on this thing, right? And then I go to that command and go through the chain of functions and grab where I did something like that and copy
Yeah.
paste it. Because it's easier for me to figure out where I did it and copy that and edit than it is to remember how to do some of the more basic shit at this point.
Right.
That's because I got a really bad memory. Oh yeah, and if you're gonna learn coding and shit, one thing I recommend like crazy, commenting. I underestimated it at the start. Most people underestimate it at the start. You don't have to overdo it at the start, but just start early with commenting. It's going to help the shit out of you. You know, don't overdo it and don't underdo it. Like, you got 50 line a function that's 50 lines long. You put one comment somewhere, that's too little. If you put a comment on each for each line of code, that's way too much. Break it down into a logical block, right? Like, what thing do you do here? Like, you could do a for loop that does some stuff. Explain the for loop before it, for example. That's sufficient. Like, if you want to see what each step does, you just look at the code. But if you want to know what an entire block of code does, there should be a comment to do it. But, you know, you figure that shit on your own, right? You develop your own style. Everyone has theirs. You probably changed it a lot. At least me. I changed my coding style so much over time. Like, my bot has like 4 or 5 different coding styles throughout, which is bad, but
Yeah.
it's life.
It's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, a good way of motivating yourself is making something that's usable or used, right? Like a Discord bot, if people use it, that motivates you to make it better. And also it gives you insight into how it's used and what could be improved by looking at what they're doing and looking at their mistakes and going, huh, why did they do it like that? Because, you know, you're the developer. You think of it in one way, but it's hard to fully think of it like the end user, especially since there's lots of end users. So just watching how they do it and seeing their mistakes and seeing and thinking of why they did it like that, it's a great way of improving your shit. Like my bot went from like the layout was god awful at the start to now being pretty decent looking, just step by step from user feedback and just watching them do shit. And that shit's also something like I had user-centered design as a class, right? They taught us a bunch of this shit, but it was all in theory, and most of it was just theory, very little practice, and it was full bloated with terminology. Like I hate when they do that, when they talk way too complicated.
Right. That just
Yeah, the shit I learned from just messing with the bot, I learned so much from that. In like user-centered design and shit, it put so much more shit in the perspective.
and it stopped again, didn't it? Probably stopped a while
Yeah.
ago and I didn't notice.
Stopped a moment ago, I think.
That works.
Huh? You just swap the GitHub into YouTube. I keep making new tabs every single time I need something. I make a new tab for it in case I need the old ones.
Yeah, I don't
And then I
really
just
do that.
purge tabs every now and then. My browser habits are the main reason I have 32 gigs of RAM. Actually, browser's habit, because I have 3 browsers, actually 4.
That's thunder, not music. There we go.
Yeah. Turns out it's like relaxation and sleep shit. Ends up putting you to sleep.
I don't want to fall asleep while coding. That sounds like a nightmare.
I end up having coding related nightmares. Oh god.
That
Oh
doesn't sound
god.
good.
Yeah. Especially from what I learned, the things I noticed about dreams. I mean, I heard of it beforehand, but really saw it in action with some of my nightmares. Like text and shit, right? It doesn't work in sleep. The,
Alright.
the text you read doesn't make sense, and if you look away and look back, it changes.
Yep.
That's a property of dreams. So my
They
3
don't make
worst
sense.
nightmares in recent memory have all been exams. I'm suddenly finding myself in an exam for a subject that I haven't had in a while, or I'm not prepared for. And in the dream, I'm not prepared for. I'm there, and I'm like, fuck. I'm in an exam. I didn't practice for this at all, right? Didn't even practice right before going to the exam. Then I sit down with an exam, right? And I don't know what to do. On top of the questions not making sense, and every time I look away and look back, it's changed. Not just the questions, the
Oh,
page, the question number, how many questions I've done, how many questions I haven't had to skip over, and how much time is left. It just jumbles constantly. So at one moment I got like 3 out of 50, and there's like 15 minutes left, and in another one I have 2 hours left, and I've done 15 out of 30. It's fucking terrifying, dude. So getting a coding-based nightmare would probably be awful because your code would just be random.
good. Oh, I don't know.
Coding
I should.
while you're awake is pretty good.
Hmm?
But coding while you're awake is pretty good.
Well, yeah. It usually only should code when you're awake.
Yeah.
Code if you code while you're sleeping, that's a little bit concerning.
I think I actually have dreamt of code. No, not directly the code, the text, but the structure in my head for a, for a structure to represent a thing. You know, the abstract sense that I can then make in
Yeah.
real code. I think I've had those in my dreams before. Like, you know the meme, like, it came to me in a dream? Yeah, that's happened.
Oh dear. Slowly getting rid of the others. Errors. We started at 2.8. We're now down to 173.
Yeah, that's the ideal way of doing it, just causing things to error everywhere, going through. There are plenty of times where I have to correct hundreds of errors. But that's the price of doing it poorly the first time. And the reward is you don't end up like Yandere Dev's code, where it never refactors and it just gets worse. Do kind of pity the man though. Like making some code and making the bot myself, I've learned to have at least a little more respect for the man, because I've seen how much easier than expected it is to just get into technical debt.
Right.
But some of the stuff he does is too far. Like he should have fixed it like ages ago.
Didn't he also ban people that actually tried to help him with the code?
Yeah, there was a tiny, not tiny. What was the name of the like? It's a company that helps indie devs make their games and publishes them for them for
Right.
a portion of the cut.
I have
Right?
no idea.
I don't remember the name of it, but they did a deal with him, and they sent over a programmer to help him in refactoring the code. The guy refactored a bunch of code, and he looked at it, and he freaked out because it was so different from his own code, and he kind of like kicked the guy out
Uh,
for fucking with the whole project. Yeah,
oh dear.
so that's yeah. I mean, I can understand it's like a little freaky to just see that it's the code be completely different and be like, how am I gonna adapt to this, right? But you gotta work with people, man. Especially when your code's like the way it is. Like the worst offender, right? Because you have plenty of small things everywhere, but the worst offender was the AI. Every character did have a student number, right?
Yeah,
And the
and
student
that
number
was a
corresponds to
gigantic
a
gift check.
yeah, it corresponds to a specific set of behaviors, and the one that would run for each student for every frame to choose what they were doing, it had a giant if check that did if the ID is this, then this, if the ID is this, then this, all the way down.
That was very, very. Uh,
Super nasty. You know, that one's like relatively simple to fix, to be honest. Like just make a map, a dictionary, tying the student ID to a lambda or something. You know, instead of having it be a method, have it be a property so you can run it, or have the method run the property that is a lambda.
already
Or
down
at the
to
very least,
166 hours. Oh, also, I hope that I'm not boring you to death, or we're not boring you to death with our talks.
yeah. I mean, if you want to know any specific things, you could always just pop a message in there,
Yeah,
guide the
like
conversation.
I stream not just to not to just like show what I can do, but also to answer other people's questions.
Yeah. I always hate it when people do shit just to show off. I mean, you know, you proud sometimes you shuffle. I shuffle a little bit too, right? Making a cool new feature on the bot, I want to show it to people.
Right.
You know, the people that are like going out of their way to just assert how smart they are and shit.
That's a little bit too far.
Yeah, especially the
If
like
you're
when
if you're smart, wait for your opportunity.
yeah,
If otherwise,
if you're so
please don't
smart,
get
you
in
don't
my
need to
way.
show it off.
It's not being smart. It's just pure arrogance.
Yeah. Well, either that or you know inferiority complex where they want to be perceived as smart and they take external validation.
Right.
It's odd, really. Like you'd think these people were like self-centered and thought they were the greatest thing and like superiority. No, it often it's actually inferiority complex. They're
It-
trying to get external validation because they don't feel like they're enough.
I'm not gonna lie. I have done that quite a few
I mean, yeah,
times in my life. So yeah, it's
yeah,
good.
it's something a lot of people do actually. You know, like a lot of these things, like you get really pissed at it when you see it, but it can happen to people without them even realizing it. Like you want to think of yourself as a rational agent that just operates off of logic. Like this makes sense, this doesn't. But sometimes feelings take over like your thinking and they cloud it, and you don't even think about whether or not something makes sense.
Right.
Of course, you can't just use that to say, oh, well, any instance is just justified. Just let them do whatever, right? Like people need to not do that. You know, it's like when people have problems in their lives and they're assholes to other people for it. You know, like you've had it shit. I get that. It's terrible. It shouldn't have happened, but taking out on others isn't acceptable. That just continues the cycle. You know? One of the reasons why I don't tell people about my disabilities IRL, because they treat me like a person with a disabilities instead of, you know, having regular expectations and being like, dude, what the fuck when I'm doing stupid shit.
Yeah, it's just.
And this way, I
I
actually
don't
learn to
like
behave like
that.
a human.
I don't like how judgmental people have gotten lately, but rather,
Yeah,
how should I say this? Sensitive.
yeah,
Um,
so
the latest generation. I am a Gen Z. I hate that, but the latest generation is atrocious. Honestly,
yeah.
there's so much going on that they just completely ignore.
And then this minor shit that they freak out about. I think it's largely people with too much time on their hands, or people trying to find somewhere to belong because they don't have their own individual identity.
Uh,
The sort of shit that cults and extremist groups prey on. Like they'll find you'd think cult people were dumb, right? But a lot of cult people are actually smart. They just got taken advantage of, got manipulated because they don't have a place they feel like they belong,
right,
and the people there use that against them. Yeah, and the same shit happens online and shit too. Make people go crazy. You know, people don't feel like they have a sense of purpose. They do shit to make them feel like they have a sense of purpose. You know, they convince themselves that the world is a systematic, like an evil system made by evil people, and that by them complaining enough to a corporation and getting them to remove like Aunt Jemima or whatever, that one lady that was on the syrup or whatnot, they've now done a great deed and moved it forward. They're basically like the people in the civil rights movement, you know.
right,
Similar to how in the old days, right? You'd have the concerned mothers that have spend too much time at home, and they start getting nosy into shit. It's like, oh my god, Pokemon is converting our kids to shit like that, right?
right.
Where it's just crazy. Same with conspiracy theorists. Like they they need to find something that makes them feel like they're doing something, you know. And fighting a giant conspiracy, you know, that gives you a big sense of
I
purpose.
mean, here is, and everyone knows this. One of the biggest conspiracies that we've made up just for the fuck of it is flat Earth theory.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, come on, there is so much proof against you guys, and there is. It's just
yeah, but when the plane flies
how are
straight
people so
forward, why doesn't
stubborn?
it not go out into space if it's on a ball? I love that one. Displaying a
Thing,
complete lack of understanding for gravity. Like
yeah,
they'll have some basic grasp, right? Like they'll understand geometry and straightforward on a ball will take you further away from the surface, but won't grasp gravity and how and how big the Earth is and how it'll slowly it'll go a little bit downwards over time. Yeah, I also think the approach of just insulting them and calling them all really fucking stupid will not help much because then people just get defensive if you get really aggressive with them. You know.
yeah.
If you're like, you fucking idiot, you believe the earth is flat? How dare you? Right? Then they get
I'm.
defensive and they try to convince themselves they're right.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
there's so much stupidity in the world.
Yeah. It's always been that way. We're just more interconnected now.
Sucks, but
Yeah. Personally, I believe silly beliefs should be allowed to be expressed and then argued over instead of just suppressing anyone.
the issue is that if we do allow that, if the world allows that, then that can cause a lot of chaos. What do you need?
Mm. I mean, you shouldn't be allowed to act on things necessarily. Like if you think certain races are inferior to others, you shouldn't be allowed to beat them up or murder them, right?
True.
But if you have that belief, right, which I think is wrong, of course, forcing them to suppress and not tell anybody, right? That just convinces them they're right. But if they can express it, and we can express why they're wrong, and have conversations that can help come closer to the truth, right? Like I remember this is one black dude, right? And he's converted over 200 clansmen by talking to them. Yes, he's shown them that there exists black people that aren't monsters. You know, that moves the pendulum a little, because then they can't be like, yeah, all black people are just primates, right? Because he exists. And he shows them
Right.
more. So it goes from all to most to some to, you know.
Right. I mean, some people, they do listen,
Well, yeah,
and
some people will never listen, obviously.
some people do listen. Some people just like sticking in their own world
Eh.
because they know that it exists and they don't like change.
Or, you know, they're built their whole world around it. You know, if something that you built your whole world around is
AKA
being
Justin
foiled into
Bieber
question,
fans.
your brain just becomes defensive. It's a defense mechanism.
Oh,
That's why I believe in a more like less confrontational, more like just friendly discussion kind of way. Ease people
right.
out of their beliefs that they have as core beliefs. They slowly adapt to not having that be a core of their identity. Makes it a lot easier to accept it not being true.
Sorry for the constant sighing. So much work to do here.
So
143
much
errors to
tedious.
fix. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The tedious parts are always annoying. Like, you know, loggers and shit, right?
Yeah.
I made my own ages ago because I didn't know when to get into however you'd be doing that shit proper. And I had to iterate it several times. And most recently, I had to move it over to like a completely new setup that I made. And it was like several hundred errors that I had to fix.
Thanks.
It was just going from error to error. I mean, for me, I have the problem thing at the bottom, and I click that to teleport to the problem. And then I have Sublime text on the side so I can copy paste shit. You know, there's a lot of ones I had to change out to new ones. I decided, fuck it though, get the band-aid off. This one's more flexible anyways. And the more flexible it is, the less likely I am to have to actually change the code using it, you know? Then it's just refactoring.
I mean, it really depends on what you're doing. There's always a limit to flexibility.
Oh yeah, obviously. If I wanted ultimate flexibility, I'd need every single possible variable, you know? But I take in shit like, I take in the type, right? So for inside of an instance, I use get type, you know, because it's like a method for every class has it default.
Yeah.
And if it's in a static, then I have to do type of and then the name of the class. So, you know, then I have the type, and I also use the caller name attribute, I think it's called, so that it automatically passes the name of the method calling. Like it'll do that compile time wise. Like it's a string that's by default null, and it's got that. So unless the code calling it sends that in, they'll just make it put the name of the method in there. You know, so then I could just take the method name and the class name and build them together like that. It makes it look a lot more sweet. You know, like originally I just wrap everything into a string and pass it along, but now I send the pieces and then assemble them there because I want to standardize stuff better. Oh no, you don't, Avast.
Why the hell do you have a vast?
because it's a free antivirus I started using ages ago.
Christ, man. Use
Defender.
no, Malwarebytes.
Malwarebytes. Maybe. It's just more effort to look into these things, you know?
Down to 113 errors.
Sylveon. There you go.
Hi.
Check in the chat.
Oh
That's
god,
what
no.
my logs look now.
I don't like it.
Maybe not. Might not be for everyone. I standardized the width of the method call, class name, so that it wouldn't change so much. So it's easier to see what's what now. Shit. Like it takes in the class, takes in the method name, takes in the degree, and then I think it takes in timestamp optionally or just uses now if not. And then takes in like could take in a parameter string if you want to put that in there, and then a message or error. And then does the stuff with it. So, you know, that'll be a lot more flexible. Won't have to rewrite as much.
The configs, value. Don't ask why I made that knowable.
For comparison, by the way, here's the old setup, the way it looked.
I need to show you my logs. Once all this.
Yeah, I removed the date because it didn't really matter that much. If it's stored in a file, then the file is date stamped. And if it's in the logs, then I should be able to trace which day it is.
Back to this.
Yeah, tuples. I used a bunch of tuple return types for a while, and then I had to start. And then I started and ended up having to rewrite that because tuples aren't very informative. I mean, it definitely has its place, but the way I used it was just no. Yeah, weren't you doing a custom VC thing a while ago?
No, not yet.
I almost mixed it up with another guy.
Okay.
Yeah, because mine's been working pretty well for quite a while now. Yeah. Still need to
Might want
figure
to
out how
port
to
that
make
over
more.
to Mewdeko.
Maybe. I can send you the code later on. You can look at it and try to put it into your test bot and see if you can get it to work. Because it does have some, I think it has some dependencies in there. It definitely does. It uses the summary thing.
Okay.
You know, that's because that's how I handle shit. That those represent the channel with additional shit for internal stuff. You know, instead of having one setup for everything, like for this thing, I have one dictionary for channel.
Oh, okay. Nothing.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I remember that. I remember Mr. Slave from South Park. South Park's great. Oh, if you click on people, you can see their profiles. That's nice. That's nice. They don't do that on YouTube, and that's been bugging me. You just see their name. So they add me, friend. Are you still alive? Did you zone out? Or did you leave and someone else joined instead?
Got it.
I'll have to wait and see.
They joined my server. Oh.
Maybe it didn't have anything to put in to input or ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could make bots for Twitch too, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they even do that for like games. Twitch plays, I think they call them. Like some of it's like the game is played by the chat, and some of it's they vote on shit to drop into the game.
Yeah.
Interesting concept, I'll admit. Man, I'm just thinking back to like I think the last thing I saw of like someone making a bot for Twitch was someone made like a bot, and then he had like a file with a bunch of like things to check if they had in their name regarding like Dream or some shit, or like
Oh
a bunch of
yeah. That was what's his name?
Schlad maybe.
Yes, Schlatt.
That was pretty funny. He just ran the thing and banned like 10,000 people from his chat. Reminds me of that one dude that made like that put into his like JavaScript bot that it would ban anyone that played League for more than 30 minutes.
That's
I've
actually
had
kind
people
of
ask me
bad.
if I could do that. I said I could, but it's not going to be worthwhile because it'll be hard to fit into the rest of the bot properly, and they'll leave lots of random shit in the bot, and there's not much of a point to it. Plus, we don't want to dabble in banning because then mistakes can have serious consequences. Yeah, I need to figure out how to get on and go and move on to a newer version of C Sharp. I think I'm
I'm
done
pretty
at
sure
Core
I'm on
3.
I'm on 10.0 here,
Huh.
and I'm using Core 6.
Alright. I think I used like Core 3 or something. Whatever one was the current one back when I started, I think. Or they added a bunch of new shit like project-wide dependencies, so you don't have to type them in everywhere. That'll be nice. Then I won't have to do this massive copy-paste list that I paste into every new file and then expand on and paste in every new file from there on. I import so many things I never use in case I might use it in a moment, and I don't want to have to re-type the whole thing whenever I need it.
Going between version 3.
Hmm. Yeah, it would be fun if you could see who, but I don't know. It probably also would be something that could be used for. It could be abused for shit.
2.
Oh, you can. All right.
Yeah.
Did you hear that JavaScript repository, the thing that happened?
Oh yeah, where if you had a certain IP, you wrote everything with the heart.
Yeah, if your IP range was in Russia or Belarus, it would just rape a bunch of your files and then put a text file in your desktop talking about coming together and not separating ourselves based on geographic lines, but all being humans after attacking people based on their geographic location.
Huh.
Very ironic.
Basic stupidity, honestly.
Yeah. And then the beauty of like that one being used in like was a small thing that a lot of other libraries used. So if you imported other libraries, they would import that library. So it would create like a chain. So you didn't even need to know what that library was or have anything to do with it to get it on your thingy. I mean, I heard there was one a little earlier that did a protest too, where they just made it not work in protest. But this one, like, that was like malicious shit. That's like way too far.
Um,
I always hated shit like that.
what do
Or
you mean
people
not
like
extract a
have.
token? Where? Oh,
Hmm?
nothing.
It's just a token. I was like, wait, hold on. What? I was like, for a second, I was in a panic of like, did you reveal your token now?
No.
Yeah, because that'd be bad. That's bad. Okay. Oh, fuck it. Fourth dose of coffee. Here we go. You know what I find really funny though? What
What?
happens? Hold on. I've just got to take coffee real quick. I gotta note down the time. I just made a habit of noting down every time I take Ritalin or coffee or painkillers or any of that stuff for whatever reason. And I'm planning to, now that I'm doing machine learning, I'm planning to plop that bad boy into a machine learning program and see what I could do. It'll be interesting. It'll be like relatable data instead of random shit you find online. You know? But you know what I find really fucking hilarious? Hey, we can swear
What?
on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. Always hard to pay attention to what rules. Like on YouTube, you can't do it within like the first 30 seconds or some shit. But yeah, no. What's really funny is when a corporation tries to virtue signal and it backfires completely. Like I hate when they do the virtue signal bullshit. It's so annoying. Like they're like, "Hello, fellow activists. We here at giant mega corporation also hate capitalism and racism, while we buy slave labor from ethnic death camps in China." You know, but when they do it and it backfires, like the Skittles, right? Remember the one where it took away the rainbow because they didn't want to take away from the rainbow, the only rainbow that mattered during Pride, and they
Right.
made white Pride Skittles.
Oh
That was
God,
so
no.
fucking hilarious. I wish I got a copy of that before they immediately stopped selling them. I would treasure that. Or when Burger King tweeted "Women belong in the kitchen." Uh, that was just so poorly planned out. It's pretty fucking annoying. Like when companies does McDonald's make shit about racism? I don't remember.
No, not that I know of.
Good, because I remember them having a "No Blacks Allowed" sign in their Chinese stores for a while.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes, it was during COVID, the starts of COVID. So the Chinese government blamed it on black people, so everyone just kicked them out, and stores didn't allow them in there, including McDonald's, because if you allow them in there, that scares the Chinese people, and that's lost money. And it's all about the money. Yeah, virtue only matters where it's profitable. Like, call me when Bethesda Russia or Bethesda Middle East's Twitter accounts put the pride flag on their logo. Then we can talk.
Did you just say thawk?
Talk. Like communicate. Because every Pride Month they put that on their Western ones, but anywhere where being gay is not allowed or not socially acceptable, they don't dare. And that's just funny to me. Sup OB Can TV.
Oh, hey, actually, I haven't seen you in a while. He's also a streamer.
Huh. 318 followers.
Yeah.
Not used to this Twitch thing, so I don't know what that is relatively in terms of, like, for example, YouTube. Probably a moderate amount, I'm guessing.
I guess.
Like, you're not doing bathtub streams or whatnot, but you're also like
No.
got some viewers. So is he like in the coding too, or?
No, actually, I'm not sure. I've never really asked that, but
Huh.
hey, only 84 hours left. That's neat.
Huh. Mixer, which one was that again?
It was a Microsoft thing before it got taken down and merged into Twitch.
Yeah. COVID's been rough on a lot of people. Fucking sucks, man. I remember I was like, oh yeah, I'm always inside anyway, so it won't affect me much, and that motivation's just down in the dump. Sitting at home doesn't work.
Wait, what? Oh.
.net. Fellow C Sharper.
Oh. Okay, now I remember. Oh, neat.
Huh.
Maybe you can help me. I know he's in my server.
Huh.
Somewhere. Unless he left or something. I either talked to him at one point, or he's in my server, but I do remember him.
Am I allowed to joke about programmers being boys and wearing thigh highs on Twitch?
Yes, I don't see why not. I don't see
Alright.
why they would,
I don't know. I remember some Reddits where, like, traps or the word trap is transphobic or some shit.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's hard to pay attention to the lore anymore.
Oh, by the way, Obi-Con, Mewdeko is now open source. So if you want to look
You
at
can
its code
copy
and
the
see
whole
what the hell
code.
is going on. Huh?
Now you can copy the whole code, make your own instance, and sell it for money.
Please don't. That's one of the reasons I was actually trying to go against open source.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mideko's now open source. It's been like that for like a month.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's like the thing with Streamlabs. Like it took like OBS is like an open source thing, and they just took that, wrapped it in something, and just sold it for money.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I've never used that stuff though, so don't take my word for it. Don't take this as liable.
Hmm. Oh, why's that there then?
So,
81
Obi-Can,
hours to
what do
fix.
you, or Obi-Can, what do you make?
But he's an Azure .NET dev, and he's getting certified as Azure.
Huh. Azure is a cloud thing, right? What do you make in Azure then? Like, do you make Azure, or do you make stuff in Azure? Huh.
I forgot. I'm doing nothing at the. That's neat.
Yeah. Well, downtimes every now and then. Sometimes I don't touch my bot at all for a while. Yeah. What kind of stuff you planning on working with then? Front-end stuff, integration stuff, back-end stuff, other stuff that I can't think of.
Oh, neat. Maybe you can look at Mewdeko's code and see what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, backend's what I want to do too. Front-end's too much work. We're like planning out layouts and having to test everything on how the user sees and having the arrangement so that it fits the way.
I'm probably gonna be doing both back end and front end dependent stuff goes. More or less because I don't currently have anyone that'll work with me on my API, so I'm kind of low on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably help you a bit out here and there with what little I know, or just, trying to help you figure it out with my amazing talents of figuring random stuff out without learning it properly. At this point, botching has become an art, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of JavaScript either, personally. I know a bit of it, but eh.
Oh no, JavaScript. I know it quite well. It was my first. I got so many misconceptions about programming from doing JavaScript first.
Huh.
Yeah, ASP. I mean, if you're doing like Blazor or Eraser, can't you make the website templating on the server using C#? I think that's what I was doing.
Yeah, you
Like
can. It's
like
called It's called CSHTML. You can use C
oh yeah,
sharp
yeah,
code instead of JavaScript, and it can basically do
yeah.
the same thing.
It was very similar to in JavaScript you have React and Vue.js,
Yeah.
which do templating like that in JavaScript on the front end, or I guess also on the back end. I think, yeah.
Only 74 errors to fix.
Yeah. I remember with Blazor there was what's it called again? The thing where you compile it in the JavaScript code and send it down to them. And then there was the server-side Blazor where you run everything on the server. They click on a thing, it sends up a little code like they clicked on this one up to the server, and they run the corresponding thing, which is nice because then you could work with data the user shouldn't be allowed to have access to, because you can't send that down to the client or they could in theory grab it somehow. Yeah. I could make a decent interface design, but I'm terrible with C#, and Bootstrap is extremely confusing because they fight each other constantly as far as I've gotten from it. You know, which one rules what. It's a pain. Like, I can make a working one for testing around stuff and it not being too atrocious, but that's about where my level goes. Which is why I want a team of people, like working a team with people, so some other person knows how to do those things and knows how to test it with users and all that stuff, all the color theories and that. There's too much of that stuff for me to really get into that. Yeah, it's probably really nice if you actually get the hang of it and understand it, but I don't know. C sharp just, I mean, it's not CSS. I mix them up because CS and CSS for some reason. It's just not working. It's not jiving with my brain. Like I set max width, and somehow an element on the other side of the page that's not even related makes it so max width doesn't do anything. Yeah, I think stuff like Bootstrap is designed to simplify it by making more abstract stuff that's easier to work with instead of doing all the root stuff. But it just makes more confusion to me. That's why I'd like to, you know, be on a team with dudes, right? Like people, right? And then I can go to the people doing like UIs, and I'll be like, yeah, we need these things out here, and this, and you know, it would be cool if we could have a button that does this, or you know, when you're here, it'd be nice to just have a feature that allows you to go in here directly instead of going around, you know, and they'll design a UI and actually make it, you know, back and forth. You know, similar shit from for other fields, you know, marketing and financing. You know, I talk to them, they talk to me, we go over shit and agree on stuff, and then I don't have to learn all sorts of market theories or remember anything I learned in market-oriented production and product development or whatnot. And that's the point of specializing, after all, that each person can work to their talent instead of knowing everything. Man, if I have a choice in the matter, I want to work like game development. I wanted that so much when I was a kid, but now it's just like, uh,
At this point,
big companies are crunch.
game development is a hit or miss. Like it
Yeah,
depends on what studio you're working on your own.
yeah. It
It's
depends
it
on which studio you're working for and whether or not they get eaten up by EA.
yeah, that too.
Like if you could work with it, like work on it with a passion, that would be awesome. But if it's like you have to churn this shit out and you have to standardize it for these things and you have to include these things that people now want in their shit, pandering and all that, and they put you on crunch time and they do all sorts of bullshit, it's like, uh, you know. Yeah, C++. I remember C++. It was cool. If you're doing like C++ stuff and you need a little bit of help on it, like with pointer logic or stuff like that, you could try holla at me, because I did quite a bit of C++ over the years. A little bit out of the loop somewhat and stuff. But I liked it. It's my second favorite after C Sharp. I really liked like getting the low level and getting to control shit directly. But yeah, there are a lot of shit studios. It's just how it is, unfortunately. That's my goal, is to become so good at what I do, whatever the fuck I end up doing, that the people would come and like studios would be coming from me instead of me having to go to studios. Then I get to have my pick.
Hmm. I personally didn't really like Pluralsight. I cannot stand watching videos
What's
constantly to actually
Pluralsight?
learn. Pluralsight is a site for learning. different languages.
So it's like a coding version of Skillshare.
Yeah.
Never used Skillshare either. Yeah, I can work to a limited degree with videos. I'm really bad at waiting and slowly going through tutorials. I have a tendency to skip around a lot and just jump back into parts when I need them. I don't know the relative ranking of which one's better in what special area, or if it's generally cheaper stuff there or better quality there. They just relate it to stuff I know about. I know of Skillshare from plenty of ads. Same as I know of,
LTTstore.com.
I was trying to think of a way to segue into a fake Raid Shadow Legends ad. I like doing that as a meme.
But please don't, actually. We're not sponsored by them, and I don't want to get any sponsor. And I don't want to give them any sponsor things.
Oh no,
On
every time
Twitch,
I do
after
it
all.
to the point where it's a clear joke. I segue into it in awkward situations where it doesn't fit at all, and force it. Basically, to mock how many different ways people have shelled it. Especially love like taking something completely inappropriate, like I don't know, fucking someone dealing with some shit like death of a loved one or something, and I bring up something about cheering them up, and then I segue that into raid. Obviously, it's a joke. I don't do it for like people actually grieving or shit, right? You know, situations like that would be just absurd. So it's kind of funny, the idea. I don't know. I don't know if everyone should be playing it or not. I don't even know what it goes, what it's based on. Like, what are you doing, and where's the freemium ship part of it? Like, where do they get you to pay them money? Is it like to reduce a cooldown for doing something? Is it for better characters? Is it for more action points per day? Don't know. I already learned
Oh,
my
this would be a
lesson with
bitch.
Facebook games when I was a kid. It was a costly lesson, but it was worth it in the end, to be honest. You know? GTA 5 still does ads? Damn, I haven't played that shit in ages. I will admit I got more than my money's worth from it, though.
Wait, Halo 5?
GTA 5, Grand Theft
Oh,
Auto. I played the shit out of it on console on the PlayStation 3.
I haven't played GTA 5 in a while.
Oh, I haven't played GTA 5 in... Does it say that on my Steam? Can I check that? I'll see. I do have it on Steam, right? Yeah, I do. January 7th, 2017 was the last time I played on Steam. That is 5 years ago. Damn. I played so much of that on on PlayStation 3. That was the console, but I have choice when I was looking to consoles. Then I moved to computers. Then eventually came out on computer. I remember the excitement when they finally launched it on computer. First thing I did was go to the gun store and grab the guns that I didn't have on PlayStation 3. They were like part of some special thing that you got anyways, like you'd be given anyways when the computer version came out.
Alright.
And then I went down to the beach and I pulled out a new knife I got and I started shanking a body repeatedly while just looking around in third person at the improved graphics. Because I played so much on PlayStation 3, so just looking at everything in way higher resolution was just mesmerizing. I did that for like 10 minutes while waiting for a buddy to get on because he was having like issues with it. I didn't want to start doing shit without him. Yeah, Facebook games, man. I don't remember what the one I ended up using a bunch of money on was
Anyone
called.
remember Neopets?
I remember the concept, but I've never played it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Man, like at this point in retrospect, I do not regret wasting probably around $200 worth of money on some Facebook game when I was a kid. It was a lot, but I learned but it taught me a lesson, you know. Turns out like when I was really young, I ended up spending like $10 on a slot machine once, and that's when I learned the flaws of gambling.
Very, very young to learn that.
It was a good thing though. Like I learned that for like $10. It was a lot when I was a kid. Like that was like my allowance, and I was like, it's all gone. But I didn't win anything, you know. And that just stuck in my brain, and now I'm probably not gonna get addicted to gambling. And I might somehow still do it.
Oh, so right, so here we are refactoring how every setting is cached. So on basically every service, I had a concurrent dictionary that stored every setting relevant to that service. So instead, we're gonna make it all in one single grab data from rather than having it cache all that data continuously. I also made it so that when the bot leaves the server, it automatically unloads that guild config from the server. From the yeah, basically refactoring.
Not exactly refactoring though, because it does affect how the outside world works. Because they call dictionary, now they have to call a function.
This is literally refactoring
But refactoring is where it doesn't change anything on the outside.
on the outside.
Like, yeah, the outside that uses it. So these dictionaries you had, no user was directly calling that when they were making code in your thing, were they? Or
Refactoring is a mass change of code in my definition.
I guess it doesn't really matter too much exactly. It's an improvement of code, anyways. Wherever it's classified as. Getting DMs about code.
Also, how do I do ternary operator again? Was it this?
Ternary is a condition, then a question mark, and then you have two values separated with a colon. The
Oh,
first
okay.
one's if it's true, the second one is if it's false.
Don't know why the freak I did this.
Yeah, that happens. You probably made something else and then changed, maybe removed parts and it turned into this, or you were just templating some kind of code. Might
Probably.
need something to happen if this. I think I have a lot of stuff like that in my code too.
I now have 2 hours left. Where the hell are they?
Can you go on the problems tab at the bottom and just teleport to them?
I could.
That's what I usually do. Neatly organized and shit. I fucking love that thing. Because I can make a big change that breaks a bunch of code, and then that'll show me everything that I need to fix before it'll run. Unless I have a runtime issue, but you know,
Please
nothing
run.
I can do with that.
Run. Please run. Fuck. Alright, because... because this thing erased my code at one point. Hold on, I can do this differently. Just... No, why am I going there? Local disk. Echo... Bin... Bug... Oh. Services work. Fuck. Oh, that's an issue. Okay, so... What? That actually doesn't make any sense. And yeah, this is Rider. So it's saying that it doesn't exist, and it throws an exception. So what the hell do I do here?
What does new system? I was looking away for a moment.
It said the key doesn't exist, but the thing is that it's supposed to create if it doesn't exist, so I don't get what the hell's going on.
Which line does it say? Yeah, if you use to one editor, it'll be a lot of hassle to move to another.
Yeah.
I got used to Visual Studio's code because that one's free and easy to start up and doesn't have all sorts of stuff in it.
There.
Key to that. Okay, so there's nothing in there. Yeah, that won't create it if it's not there.
Yeah, but the thing is, well, on start, it's supposed to.
Well, then you have to use like get or create.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Where?
Okay, so if config is null, it creates. Wait. Oh.
That's not being called, is it?
Core guild ID is not being.
Yeah. Personally, I would. You know how you just go in the index the dictionary by a key, right? I would make a function that takes care of that, and then just have procedures there, so it just works for everything.
Have a getter. The where clause won't work.
Uh,
More or less because if it's null, I'm trying to avoid refactoring again. Okay, let's do this then. Public. No, wait, that won't work.
yeah, get or add. You can use get or add.
Get around won't work.
I mean,
This doesn't have a basis to add from. It needs to use. It needs to both add to. Needs to both add to dictionary and database. So if you just do get or add on the dictionary, then database will be blank for the go configs and have that. So what we're gonna have to do?
You're gonna have to make wrapper functions around the whole thing.
No.
Oh no, are you gonna for each entire list?
Yep.
Wait, this is in. Oh, this isn't like a single call thing.
Yep.
Alright.
It's only on bot start, which happens every single time a shard starts.
What about guild available and unavailable though? I don't know. If a guild suddenly becomes available, you'd want to add it, right?
But then that would add a little bit of stress, and I would like.
That's if you want to do caching,
Oh, whoops.
is a bit more work.
What? Oh, right. Okay, so now it should create it. Oh, hell no.
If you use the Visual Studios, you might as well use that. No need to use VSC just because it's free if you have VS.
Wait, what is
When it
null?
comes to C++, then I actually use Visual Studios because I don't know how to make a project in there, and I can just use a template to create a project in C++ and work from there. Bad habit, but I embrace it. All guild configs.
Not null.
What exception you getting?
It says that 110 is null.
That have you checked if all guild configs is something already?
Not.
Yeah, you gotta give it something. You're calling add on null. I just make it a new one there, unless you have a specific setup for building it.
No. How bad do you think it would be to iterate over 2,000 guilds? Richard.
Depends on what you do for them.
Literally
it's
just
only
this.
on startup.
Yeah.
So
This is only on startup, it should be fine.
And
parameter value, oh god. Those.
the VO. What's VOW?
I can. Huh?
Alright, so get
Theater of work.
context.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, it depends on how much work you're doing per thing. If you're like looking through the whole database, grabbing things each time, it might be something.
No, no,
It
no,
might
no,
be
no.
faster to
It's.
pass the whole thing in.
What do you mean 59 seconds?
Yeah, if you use those set of tools, it's handy to have them. As long as you have the skill set to learn a new one, so you're not like, oh shit, they've stopped using that now, so I gotta learn everything over again.
I mean, here's the thing. I got Rider, because I have an open source license.
Hmm.
Because Mewdeko's open source, I was able to apply for open source and get this basically for free. I do have to renew every year, but that's absolutely fine. I basically get the entire JetBrains suite. I get .ultimate, .peak, I get PyCharm, I get what is called um, WebStorm. It's basically the full pack. It's pretty neat. Okay. That's not right. Uh-oh.
Think of a practical way of solving this issue, but I'm stuck on how it's going to involve some complicated synchronization stuff to keep you from double adding. Well, if the getting thing will add if it's not there, right? And two things request a thing that's not there
Alright,
at the
I
same
already do
time.
all that. I already do all that.
Hmm.
Here.
Um, where in particular? What function's that? Hmm.
I already do my own checks to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah. The way my JCD thing works, right? The thing that handles all of my caching and storing of files thing is it'll check, is this in the cache? And if it isn't, then I'll check, does this exist in the storage? So does there exist a file of that ID? You know, load if that exists, and if not, and you've opted
Oh,
for like
now I know
create,
why I did it like
then
that.
create and
Now I know why I did it like that. Hold on.
Yeah, having open sources and shit is nice. Having alternatives. When someone has market dominance, they become an asshole. Competition's always nice. Like, I think the presence of Java is good for C#, even if I think Java's a bitch. Because then there's at least an option if C# goes way too off the rails.
Real test is getting a big database. Actually, no, the real test would be how long it actually takes for public Mewdeko to boot up.
Yeah, you gotta prioritize your stuff, man. If you got like certifications and classes and shit you gotta deal with, you should take that over talking, shooting shit with us and helping us with this thing. I mean, I should probably be doing my school shit right now. Like, the most urgent deadline is I gotta do 2 peer reviews by the end of today. In Haskell, I think it was? Also, don't try Haskell, it's a pain. It was not my choice to start doing. Yeah, over here we take our sweet time figuring out how to do shit. We got like all sorts of classes. Like doing programming, we learn maintenance, we learn service, we learn product development, market orientation, ethics, a bunch of that shit. It's all sorts of shit. They're pretty fond of entrepreneurship and shit like that, though. They want more entrepreneurs. But I mean, that's good for the economy. So you know, and I mean, I've heard in the U.S. that universities there make you do way less useful stuff like gender studies. So I mean, entrepreneurship and a little bit of ethics probably isn't that bad, to be honest. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did a game jam of Unity once. I didn't know what C# was either. I got really bogged down on the fact that I couldn't have statics. Ended up hating it. I tend to be like that. I tend to find something I get stuck on and then just hate it. And I mean, it's irrational, but it's just life. It's how it is. I'm dragging you guys with me to the other desktop. I'm looking at this peer review thing I had to do.
Yeah, I'm done for today.
Mm,
I'm gonna go for now.
I gonna go for now.
All right, see ya.
See you around, dog.
Bye. That'll be all for the stream. And either later or tomorrow for actual game.